All right. Good afternoon, good evening, and good day to everybody. Let me pull up something real quick. I was on the other computer. I was thinking I could do it all from there, but it's not quite ready to. It's not quite ready to take on the main streaming duties on that machine yet. And this one that I normally use, I just turned it on right before this show. So I need to open up one more window and we'll get started. Today, we've got an exciting show planned for you. We might have an owner of a Ford Mach-E, Sergio, come through and tell us about his update experience, as well as the usual news and discussions that we have every week. So let's see who all is out there this morning, this afternoon, and this evening. Go to the chat. There we go. All right, all my views are set up. And now I've got articles on two different screens. So let's start with the ones on, well, I say that, but let's start with this one because I don't want Facebook beeping at me while I'm trying to talk to you guys. So let's go to screen share. Yes, I understand. Tab. There, this screen. There we go. I'm going to change the name of that other computer. Because the name is, it announces when people come in line, and that'll get annoying. So let's put this in vlogger mode. Then make this bigger for you. All right, so this one is a post that was shared with us. Robert Williams shared a bunch of posts with us. I'm not sure if this is one of his or somebody else's, but Blocky Bus. They wanted to show us their Electroliner Demonstrator EV. I don't know if this was his or not. And like I keep saying, electrify all the things. This is an electric tour bus, electric double-decker tour bus, very much like the one we saw last week, where they demonstrated that you can travel across the U.S. using public chargers in a tour bus, and it would be just fine. So let's see. I haven't tried this link yet, so let's see if they've got music and what's going on with that. So let's do paste and go. No music, okay, that's good. And then I'll make this bigger for you guys. Then we're going to skip through it because it's 40 minutes. So it's nice and quiet. It sounds just like every other EV, but it looks bigger. I assume I didn't forget to check the screen share audio button. I'm coming in very blurry on the YouTube side. Let me check something here. Oh. Because they decided to show me in 144p. Ooh. It's not even a TV resolution. Alright, so this thing's broken up into chapters. Let's see what they've got. Okay, so it's just a nice long ride on the electric bus. Not bad. So we'll close that down. What's up, Sergio? I sent you a link so you can jump on and chat with us here if you've got time. Tell us about the Mach-E update, and I'm sure they'd be glad to hear it. And then while we wait for everybody to show up on the stream, we've got another one here about, let's switch back to the main screen. That way I'm not back and forth until they're all gone. Let's go to this one. Let's go to Texas. Well, I say that. There it is. Okay, so this one's coming out of Drive Tesla Canada, and the drone army was busy as usual. They were over at Giga Texas, and they saw the first fully built Tesla Model Y in white. I don't know what's so different about that from all of these, except that perhaps it's insinuating that this one came down the full assembly line as is. Or maybe it's just that it's the first one in white, because all the others have been different colors: reds, blues, blacks. So, yep, that's what they're saying here. All the others have been either solid black or deep blue metallic. So that's why. Shows that the paint shop is getting up to speed, and that's exciting for everybody who's waiting for a Model Y from Texas. Which I'm still curious how they're going to do the Model Ys from Texas to Texas. I don't think that if you live in Texas, you're going to get a home built Model Y. It's got to be coming from California, especially when they mentioned that the Texas factory would be servicing the East Coast anyway. So maybe if they change the laws, they get some local cars whenever they get around to that. All right. That. And then we've got further confirmation that you can change your Tesla orders if your order was filed after August 1st of last year. But again, my advice to you is that if you do have the button to change your order, I would still call and see what it's going to do to your delivery date, and to double check that's not going to affect your price. But if it's functioning as designed, it could still move your date all around, but it's not supposed to change your price from the bucket of prices that you were in when you signed up for the car. But we'll see. Tesla's they make mistakes on paperwork all the time, and I wouldn't want to be the one to find out that my car is now $10,000 more expensive because I changed the color from gray to purple. Not that they make a purple color, but you get the feeling. All right, so then we've got yes. So we talked earlier about how Ford was trying to stop people from flipping their cars, not rolling them over, but buying them and selling them at scalper prices. So they had requested that their dealers not allow people to buy and flip the cars. And they've also requested that the dealers not mark up the cars. So we can see how successful that part has been. And it'll be curious to see how many dealers actually sign on to at least the not allowing the customers to resell within a year portion of that. But on the tail of that, we now have Tesla China is doing the exact same thing. So this is also coming from Drive Tesla Canada. We can see that they found this agreement that you have to sign when you buy your car, if you're buying multiples, that says that you won't resell your multiple cars within a year. I think that's going to do good for allowing people to feel that they how do you want to say that they they're not getting a raw deal. Like the other day, last night my wife and I we were looking for a printer, and all the printers of the variety that we wanted are out of stock, except for if you want to pay double or triple the price. And so I found a website that was willing to sell it at sticker, but they're not going to even attempt to deliver it before June. So it's a good thing that the one behind me here isn't broken. It's just I don't want to buy the ink for it again because it's a legacy printer, and it's a mess. Sergio, I'm sending you a link on your Messenger app. That'll bring you in the room, so I can put you on screen. Here we go. There we go. Yeah. So I don't think that this is something that I would want to see for somebody who buys 1 or 3 cars and wants to keep one and sell the others. But I totally get the feeling as somebody who's been trying to buy stuff during this supply crunch where the scalpers are making they're making a killing. They're marking stuff up unreasonably, and I don't have any sympathy for them. But like I said, somebody of small time, 1 or 2 ever, I respect the hustle. But as long as they're not going crazy with the prices. If if they add $100, okay, well, I can get it now from that guy for $100. He was in the right place at the right time. But it's a printer, man. So a printer for $1,500, $1,200, whatever these people are charging for an inkjet printer is just ridiculous. And graphics cards. Robert William and I have been talking about graphics cards for the year now, and $3,000 for a graphics card that at most was a couple $100. It's insane. And so what Ford and Tesla are trying to do is stop those folks from ruining the experience, and I get that. And a little bit on the Tesla side, they don't want anybody else making money on it but them. Their official statement is that they have a purchase pipeline, and this is how you do it. You go on your app, you go on the web, and you get your car. There's no middleman, there's no dealership, and so they don't want to ruin that experience. But it leaves a sour taste in your mouth if you buy from a scalper, or if all you can find is scalpers. It's what's up, Sergio?
Not much, man. Not much. Out here trying to stay out of this wind.
Yes, there
How
we
goes it
go.
today? How
It
goes it
goes very
today?
well. How about you?
All right. I'm doing good. I can't complain, man. I cannot complain.
Excellent. So this is the Blue Beauty behind you.
It's a blue beauty right here. Look at that. I mean, all in her excellence. Let me go ahead and show you this beauty. Look at that.
There we go. And so she just did something special last night, right?
Yeah, she got this new update, the 2.4.2, which is pretty cool because as you see the orange one back there, that one already has a lot of the programming. And so this one is starting now to get, since it was a first run, first edition, it's starting to get all those updates. And so this one now actually can charge faster than the orange one. So
Oh wow!
yeah, so we used to taper off at 80%, and we used to drop about, as soon as you hit 80%, you would drop down to about 14 kilowatts. Like it kilowatt hours. It was really bad
Wow!
because Ford wanted to protect the batteries. Now, this one will stay above 30 once I hit 80%. So
Wow!
that was a huge hit for this. And then it'll stay above 30 even into the 90s. So saves that means I get to gain some time on my travels.
Yes. So why is it able to do better than the new one? Did they not release that on the new one yet? Like this one's now running newer code than the original on the other one?
So the blue one now is running newer code as far as it goes as far as charging technology, but and that was just for testing the waters, making sure that they weren't going to like overheat their batteries and make them degrade a whole lot faster. So the orange one will get an update as far as the GTs pretty soon, but
Yeah.
right now they're doing job ones and then they're going to do job two pretty soon, and then they're just going to continue rolling them out. Sorry about that. I'm kind of windy out here.
It's all right. So eventually the orange one's going to tie the blue one in charging, or they just
Yes.
okay, okay, that
So
makes sense.
they'll eventually be able to be on the same path. But that was the biggest jump for this one. The orange one has the Blue Cruise hands-free driving system already.
Yeah.
The blue one doesn't, but I need two additional updates for it to be able to achieve the Blue Cruise technology because since it wasn't active on there and they're doing all the over-the-air update, they're gonna get that one up and running pretty soon.
Cool. So the two updates, is that in phases, or is that just like similar to what we're experiencing with FSD, where as they finish it, they push it out to the car and it can do more than it used to do?
So sorry about that, but yeah, so
That's
what
all right.
happens with that is it's just in phases. They're just what they do is they're setting out these codes and then the car will accept the code. Then they check to see how the car's response is, and then they send the next code. And I guess it's just all about being safe, testing the
Oh
waters.
yes. Yeah.
Ford has been very conservative in what they've done, so
Well, you
it's
don't want
just
to be on
them
the
being safe.
news.
Right. Yeah, nobody wants that problem.
Exactly. Yeah. So
So,
later in the show, we're going to talk about Mercedes is actually accepting liability, but that's a little preview for later in the show. So I'm curious to see um, how they've worded that because
right.
so far the only people to accept the liability have been the ones with no drivers. So you've got Waymo and Cruise Automation, but only if you don't touch the wheel and only if the driver's seat's empty. Very very specific circumstances.
Right. That's a huge thing for Mercedes to have announced that they were going to accept liability if you were in that hands free or the cruise mode. That's I don't think I would have bitten that one off. But
No.
they got deeper pockets than me. They can commit to stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So, what do you think about this whole Tesla China copying where Ford has requested the dealers not to let people flip the cars?
Well, I mean, based off of what's going on now with the chip shortages and seeing how people are just flipping these things and manipulating the used car market, I think they need to do something. And
Yeah.
I I just don't like the part where I've noticed that some Tesla owners have flipped a car and then they end up getting blacklisted and now they can't buy a Tesla anymore.
Wow. And that wasn't in their agreement. At least in China, you signed a contract that says this was going to happen. If you do
Right.
that without a contract, that's low blow.
So California, so United States does have that here. It just is in very, very fine print where it mentions if they assume that you're being a reseller, then they can
Oh.
go ahead and do that to you. So if you read, even though your contract that you purchased yours, it's in there. It says if you do that, you are considered a reseller, and they do not allow resellers.
Wow. See, mine, I didn't have to go that far because the IRS has already got me on the one of the tax credits I took. Says you got to keep it for 5 years.
Well, see, there you go. There you go.
A little
So
protected there. Wow, though. But I mean, like you shared one with us this morning where a Hummer owner wanted to sell for, or was it a dealer or an owner wanted to sell for 50 over?
a dealership. So what happened is somebody ordered one, and the dealership, when the gentleman went to go pick it up, they ended up hitting him with a $50,000 adjusted dealer markup. So that markup for $50,000, the customer ended up walking away because they weren't
I
going to
would
pay
too.
50 over. Yeah, I would have
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. And
I've
so, for those of you
I'm
that don't know, Sergio actually he has helped several people fight this practice. Like some of them, he either gets them to another dealer. Others, he just blasted over in public, and these dealers back down because they realize that's bad business. But
oh yeah.
he's fighting for what's right, and I appreciate that.
I refuse. I will never pay a markup, and I think that dealer. I mean, if people are willing to pay it, that's one thing. But if you order a car and that's what you're expecting as far as that price, and you get there and it's wrong, I don't care if it's Nissan, I don't care if it's Toyota, I don't care whoever it is that you ordered from. I will absolutely make some phone calls. I will make some videos, and I will make them understand that the publicity they're about to receive for the next whatever long amount of time is not going to be what they want.
Exactly. All for
So,
like a little bit of extra ROI on one car.
right. It's just not. It's just bad business. Once they own it and if they ordered it into their inventory and they want to do that, that's their business. I mean, if somebody buys it, they buy it. I mean, I, they say a sucker is born every day. I'm not one of those. I paid
Right.
MSRP for the blue one. I paid under MSRP for the orange one. So,
Wow. In this market.
yeah, in this
Wow.
market, yes. So,
Savvy.
yeah, I'm just telling you, hey, if I would have known that I had the benefit and perk, I could have gotten the blue one for under MSRP, but I didn't
Oh,
realize I had that benefit. So
at the
that was
time.
my fault. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not going to volunteer that information.
No, no, no. They're not going to tell me that. No, they wanted that whole MSRP if they could.
Yes. The other one, somebody shared in response to your telling us about the 50K. Somebody shared about the Hummer we talked about a couple of weeks ago, where somebody just bought it, left it at the dealership to try and flip it for 300,000.
300,000.
Oof.
I mean, I don't think it's been sold yet. I haven't pulled it up yet to see if it's still on the market, but I mean, we could all ask for whatever we want to
Oh
for
yeah,
our
yeah,
cars. I mean, I could ask $100,000 for this car right here. Does it mean I'm gonna get it? I
maybe.
mean, maybe, maybe not. I mean, I'm just saying, it's just interesting how people. I mean, that's the American way, though. We
It is.
we
It is.
we buy things and we flip them, and it's just people are always trying to make that quick buck. That's why people still can't find PlayStations. That's
Yeah.
why people are still struggling with the Xboxes because
Yes.
people want to buy and flip. Even shoes, purses. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, we were talking before you came on. I was trying to buy a new printer, one that didn't take $300 ink tanks, and
Oh yes, I heard that.
they're
You and
out of
your
stock.
legacy. You and your legacy. I heard you.
I can't get away from legacy. I buy something to save the art, and they're like, "Oh, we don't support that anymore."
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah. I mean, kind of like when Apple decided that they wanted to switch their charging port. It's just like now you got to sit there and buy all these new. Like I don't know, and
And
now
worse, they
the
brought it
Type C.
back. They brought it back, but with a different pin.
There you go. There you go. There you go. And then the Type C, and now it's like, at least like this car has both the Type C and the Type A, so it's like I could still
Yes.
use my USBs. But like my Audi over there, if I'm not using the Type A, I'm not charging. I can't bring my new iPhone charger into that car.
So you got to bring
So
an adapter
now I
to
got to
adapt
bring
it. Oh
right.
man, yes,
So I guess my legacy as well over there. So I gotta make some life decisions because I want to be able to charge my phone freely without adapters.
right, man. So I mean, I respect the hustle if somebody's doing a small, modest markup for their efforts. Like you got $100 on a car, $50 on a graphics card, but 300 grand, that's usury right there.
Yeah, you're talking about $200,000 in markup in trying to profit off of that. It's just, I mean, like I said, somebody will pay it because if you
Mm,
have enough, if your pockets are deep enough and you just don't care, you'll buy it because you have that exclusivity. But I mean, for the everyday person, that's not a good way to do things.
right, like going back to the printer again. Say I was a business and the one I picked has a photo capability. And
Yeah,
say you've got a project coming down, and you told the customer it'll be ready on Thursday, and your printer craps out, and now you have to finish that project, and so you've got two choices: you can pay the scalper, have it come in, on time with the regular shipping or overnight shipping, or you
right,
can pay a competitor to do it for you. But then you're gonna
right,
have to keep doing that until your new one comes in June or October. So
right.
it's rough right now. But
Yeah,
we're
you
seeing
know
that with
what?
the yeah.
With everything, like you were mentioning, that's across the board with everything right now. It's like you want something, you're going to wait, or you're going to
Right.
pay.
Right, and we're seeing it with Tesla, Ford, everybody. Like Ford shipped the Explorer without the rear controls, but you can still do it on the front screen. And
Right,
Tesla raised their
right.
prices because the price of nickel went up on them. And then you've got others that are just saying, "Oh well, we built all the cars we're going to make this year." It's like you guys aren't even trying; just raise the price.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But and that's the thing is like, if you don't adapt, you're gonna get lost in it. I mean, I give Ford some credit for saying they're gonna ship them and still at least be able because there's
Yeah.
a dealership down the street from me right now, and they have two new cars on their lot. Two. All the rest of them are pre-owned cars because they
Whoa.
cannot get new inventory.
Wow. But I do what I like about what Ford did better than what Tesla did is Tesla just shipped the car and then you found out when you went to plug in that it's going into the air, and Ford's like, hey, by the way, um, the car you ordered is coming in. By the way, it doesn't have controls. We'll get to you. I mean, Tesla said we'll get to you, but what I thought should have happened was you open up the glove box and there's a little paper that says, "Oh, sorry," or even better, they know who you are. Email you, say, "Hey, you pick it up on Thursday. It's not going to have them, but they'll be here on next Friday, in 2 months or something."
I, no, I agree with you, man. I rejected delivery here recently over a Tesla that had no trunk cover, no floor
Oh,
mats, and they didn't tell me about it until it was delivery day. And I'm just like, you couldn't tell me that this was missing stuff. I mean, let me make the decision whether or not I want to take the car, wait a month to
right.
get the pieces, or 2 months, or whatever it takes. But don't
Or
sit
at least
there
know that you
and
need to bring in your aftermarket cover and they can reimburse you for it. I mean, because
something.
it's a brand new $100,000 car. You don't want to be stepping in it with muddy feet, depending on who you are.
Right, right, right. Especially where I'm at right now in the muddy southeast Georgia. So yeah, no, I don't
Yeah,
want that mud. So
exactly.
no, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's unprecedented times. So I mean, it's all about adapting. That wind is kicking up out here, but it's all
That's all right.
about adapting. About adapting, and so that's the thing is, how do we adapt? Are we going to make it work, or are we not going to make it work?
Exactly. And then also, having some human decency. Like, just all people want is for you to walk them through the process. If they
Yeah,
can't read your mind and know that, oh, it's coming, unless you tell them, hey, it's coming. Otherwise, they assume either you forgot, didn't put together right, or that you're trying to cheat them.
right.
So,
Exactly. No, I
yeah.
agree with you. I agree with you 100%, man. Um, Yeah, I'm waiting to see. I'm hoping nothing like that happens. I'm supposed to. I think I'm getting my lightning here in the month of May, so I'm
Oh,
hoping that
wow.
nothing happens. Yeah, so I was lucky. My build date is actually coming up here in the next week or two. So
Awesome.
um, yeah, I was lucky. I'm gonna be in that first wave of builds, and I'm gonna be excited to go pick that thing up, man. So hopefully
So what
it's
did you get on
intact.
it?
I got the Lariat. So I got the Lariat package, the second one from the top. So I didn't want the platinum. I couldn't constitute an extra $10,000 for just chrome, and I don't know what else it came with, but I just wasn't interested. So I got the Lariat, the heavy duty tow package, the spray in bed liner. I mean, it's damn near fully loaded. So
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
Cobra
excited.
told you says nice.
Oh yeah.
So, did you get the reverse charging feature, or is that standard and you just got to buy the right connector?
So the reverse charging feature is in the charging system is in itself it's kind of like your charging port that you have at home, your charger at home. So it works through that. So it's not so much in the vehicle, it's through the charger. So while you're plugged in, it will automatically do the reverse when there's a power outage. But I'm not sure if mine comes with it or not. I have to double check on that, or if I have to buy that system. I'm not 100% sure because I didn't realize that was going to happen until after
Yeah,
I ordered it, and then they
yeah,
mentioned it and announced that it was going to work. So that would be a super cool feature to use, and I'm excited. Yeah, I would love to see how that works to be able to power up my home off of my truck. Like, how cool is that?
exactly. Yes, and
So
the price on that, if it's not included, as far as the unit, was surprisingly affordable. It was under $7,000 for an 80 amp reverse charger. I mean,
man,
already an 80 amp charger by themselves, they go for a good little bit. Tesla even stopped making theirs, but those were the cheapest ones before that at $500. But theirs only went one way. It's that
right,
bidirectional with the safety that adds to it because you're basically building the same thing twice, and then you got to add all the
right.
safety features on top. Yeah,
Which is pretty cool. I mean, and the fact that, for a lot of folks, like now you have a truck that is, that you can drive every day, but if you come home and you got a power outage, now you have options, instead of,
exactly. Oh, you froze a bit. There you go. There you go.
so I'm excited. I can't, yeah,
Yeah, a friend of mine was saying that, oh look, the Lightning is cheaper than a bunch of power walls, and I was like, well, it's true, but if you have a bunch of power walls, like you just get one power wall, you can run the fridge, run the security system while you're out, because you don't need the air conditioner and stuff when you're gone. So when you come back with the truck, you've got enough to power everything, and even with one power wall and one truck, you've still saved over getting enough to run the whole house for weeks on end.
Well, I saw that. I saw a couple articles about like kind of what you're talking about, and that's where they were saying they're like, if you buy a truck and power walls, you're going to spend more than what it would be just to buy a Lightning and have the capability of running your home.
Right.
So
Right, but
you get
Elon's always like, "Oh, well, you drive the truck away," and it's like, Elon, no. If you only get one power wall, you don't have to worry about the fridge, the fish tank, and the alarm. But then you're also not
true.
spending $14,000 times however many you need, which is probably the part that he's objecting to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. True, true. I mean, I don't know if I would be leaving it. Well, I mean, depends on what kind of power outage we got and what's going on. I mean, I might want to stay home anyhow.
Right? Well, the beauty is that
So
when the sun comes back up, it just like a power wall, it'll start charging the other direction, and
there you
you
go.
can survive a couple of weeks, which
Oh yeah.
we've seen some of the natural disasters down in the south. They can add up.
Oh yes. And they're mentioning that this year is going to be pretty bad out here. We had a tornado touchdown. I want to say about 15 minutes north of where I'm at
Mm.
right now. And so that was just last week that we had one touchdown. So even
Was
though it
everybody
was
all
an
right?
EF0, yeah, it was fine. I mean, it flipped over some single wides and some branches and some trees, but you're talking about, I mean, it's already touching down and we're barely getting into the season. So
Right.
I'm not excited about this right here. I mean,
Right.
we had a tornado touchdown here, like literally less than half a mile from where I'm at standing right now. So yeah. Um, I'm looking forward to having the capability of a truck that if I need to run things, I have that
Yes.
option.
Yeah. Oh,
So
that's another reason why we want to electrify all the things because this weather, extreme weather, yes, it's once in 100 years, whatever. But we keep setting record after record. Only weather run on heat.
right, right.
We're we're adding fuel to that fire, and it's
Yeah.
yeah,
So I mean, I'm glad to see the electrification continue to progress, and I'm hoping that everybody else will continue to catch on and make their moves instead of just sleeping and standing by because we need it. Our Earth is suffering, and it's just gonna get worse.
exactly. And it's the only one we got. And even if you subscribe to the "Hey, we're moving to Mars" thing, we need to be able to survive to make it to Mars, and then we also need to know how not to ruin that.
Yeah, because if we do on Mars what we're doing here, Not gonna happen. Not gonna
Exactly.
happen. So, no,
The
man, I'm
aliens will take
excited.
us out, man. They can't handle anything nice.
Yeah, they don't like us all as it is. I don't know. I mean, maybe they're the ones sending the tornadoes down here. I don't know. I don't know.
Spot a
So,
laser over there. Oh, the heat engine.
right, right.
Robert Williams says
Let's wake
hello.
them up.
Yeah, wake him
Yeah.
up. Oh, see if
So,
they figure it out. But the
right.
other thing we got to worry about now is we're also going to start to have water wars. Not just other resources, but literal water. Like that's the one element we need most. And we've already seen this quite a bit in the last couple of years, where Africa and Australia they have actually traded their wet and dry seasons. So like you've got flooding in parts of Africa that weren't deserts, and
Wow.
and then you've
Yeah,
got
I didn't know that.
yeah, and then in Australia you've got droughts and fires year after year, and then the places in Africa that don't have water or flooding, and the places in Australia that didn't have a problem are now becoming deserts. It's a mess.
Yeah, well, we keep polluting our earth and abusing it. I mean, I man, it just you feel sorry for the younger generation. All these newborns that are
Exactly.
coming out, it's like they're the ones that are going to see the damages that if we don't take care of now, because we're in a crisis, and a lot of people are still taking it as a joke. I could tell you down here in the southeast, electrification isn't being adopted very very easily. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a level 2 out in town at the Ford dealership, and then we have a level 3, and then a Tesla supercharger, but those are the only three chargers we have in this entire city.
Wow.
Like, so it's like you can't go to like downtown and go park. You can't go to the beach and go park and charge. You can't. There's no other options. But it's like if you want, I mean, but yet you go out there, you see all these diesel trucks just
Yeah.
bellowing black smoke and all these Chargers and Camaros and other, and it's just like that's not it. That's not what we should be doing.
Exactly. And I take that for granted because here in DC, it's like a little mini California. Like when you go to the grocery store, there's a charger. You go, like you said, to the beach, there's a charger. And
Yeah.
like around me, there's like three or four different, well, more within a 5 minute drive. There's 10 minute drive. There's four different Tesla chargers, and within 30 minutes, I've got about 10 or
See?
15 to pick from.
Right, right, right. Not out here, man. Here in Georgia, like I could get out on the highway, and if I go north, the next charger I'm gonna run into level 2 or level 3 for CCS for this is gonna be about 30 minutes north. And so if I go south into Florida, I can run into one in about 10 minutes, and then if I continue driving in another 10 minutes, I have a few other options.
Yeah.
But here in Georgia, it's not happening. They rather have their diesel trucks and yeah, a whole lot of noise.
Right. Yes. The Florida's doing a little better than yeah. So speaking of Georgia and electrification, what did you think about what that scheme they're pulling with trying to smoke Rivian out? They kind of got all the farmers to say I don't like them, and they don't even know what it is.
Man, it's that fear. It's always going to be that fear. I mean, as you guys in your community call it FUD. Um, I had to take that jab. Don't shoot the messenger. But that it's just the fear. They're accustomed to certain things, and they're just afraid to move away from it. And instead of just saying, "Let's try it out. Let's see what happens," it's just, "Oh, we don't want that." Because they know it's going to be disruptive. They know that it's going to make an impact. Like I mean, Ford rolling out these F-150s is going to smack them around as soon as they come out, and as soon as farmers and others start to realize that that's where they want to be, that they could set up a little solar grid and charge that truck up and have it work their farm, and it's going to cost them way less than that diesel or gas. Things are going to change, man. Things are
And
going
they
to
can make
change,
it
but they
right
got
there on their farm with their solar
yeah,
panels or their biogas burners or wind
right.
turbines, whatever they want. If they have water on their
Anything they
property,
want.
they could do a water mill.
Completely self-sustaining, and they don't even realize like how their overhead would drop tremendously if they just took those steps. But
And
it's
it
all
speaks to
about,
exactly what they claim to want to support. They want self sufficiency. They want to live off the land, but they're making it so they can't.
right, right.
So do you think they're doing it on purpose, or they're being useful idiots to the guys that do control the supply, that are trying to just poison their minds so they fight against their own best interest?
It's their own ignorance. That's what I'm going to go with. It's their own ignorance. They just they don't want to learn. And it's interesting because some of these guys you'll talk to, and I mean, I went to a town hall down here, and I even was talking to our senator. I was talking to Senator Warnock, and I was just like, hey, what are we doing to expand the electrification out here? Like, you preach about this, but what are you actually doing? To my surprise, he let me know that he has an electric vehicle. So I was like,
Nice.
okay, I got a chance to show him the Mach-E, and so he actually liked that one as well. But he drives a Tesla, but he is working on different initiatives and different bills to try to help out. But these people are just so scared and fearful. I mean, this county that I'm in right now, that I'm standing in right now, a few months ago, our vaccination rate was like 25%. Like, these people are afraid of change, and they do not want to try anything. They don't want to. It's just it's a different world.
Yeah. We've seen that with a bunch of other things recently where people just don't even want to consider doing stuff a different way. It's like, this could save you
Yeah.
time, money, stress if you just do X. And like, oh no, we've always done it this way. It's the way
Nope.
it'll always be till the
Right.
day I die.
Yep. It works. It works. It works. And it's just like, unefficiently it works. You could
Right.
make this a whole lot better, and you do less work, but no.
Yeah. Well, a good example
Yeah.
is like you and I. We plug our car in and we leave in the morning. It's got all the range we ever want, unless we're going on a road trip. And even then, we start out with
Right.
the full range rather than, oh, before my trip tomorrow I need to stop at the gas station and fill up. They don't grasp that the whole concept of going to the gas station is a
Right.
bit odd if you like step back and evaluate it.
Well, they'll tell you, I don't want to sit there and wait for my car to charge. I don't have time to sit there and wait for it. Well, the orange one that's sitting right there in the garage, it's charging right now. And when I get ready to go out tonight, it's going to be fully charged and ready for me to hit the road. And I'm not waiting on it. It's doing its own
Right.
thing. And
Exactly.
I'm not sitting in line at Costco for 20, 30 minutes to save, 14 cents. Like,
Yes. And then
it's
when you get there, you got to sit
right
there and hold
there.
the handle, so you're still waiting on it to fill. It's just filling a lot
Right.
faster.
Right, right, right. Easily just plug it in, and in the morning I'm good to do whatever I want to, or even, I mean, that one will be ready here shortly. It's just like, they don't get that. And so sometimes it's like you got to put them in the seat and let them experience it. I did it with one of my
Exactly.
friends last night, and we took the orange one out last night, and she was just amazed. She was like, I didn't know these were fast. I didn't know that you could do this. I didn't know the cost of charging them. Because here in Georgia, it's cheaper for me to charge in these than it is to charge in or charge in Georgia than it is in Florida. Florida, it'll
Wow.
cost me more to charge these. So um, I can go from my house to Atlanta, which is about 370 miles, and it costs me $7 to drive either one of these out there.
Nice.
If I drive down 375 miles south, it's going to cost me about $20 if I'm in Florida because of
Because they,
the
they
rate of.
put those surcharges on you.
There you go. So,
So another thing we talked about with that is was it last week or so? We talked about there was a guy who pointed out that a lot of these industry experts, they may drive the competition's electric cars, but none of them have charged their own cars. They've never charged a Tesla. They've never even, and if they do charge, they don't pay. They put it on the corporate card, or they have a corporate
right.
swiper. They don't realize that it's under $10 most of the time for a full charge.
And that's the thing. If you're not taking the time to learn, you're not going to be able to share that knowledge and that power. Like Robert was just talking about that his neighbor, together blocked from home charging, and it's like, what is it? Yeah, the neighbor here once together can block from home charging. Like,
Yeah,
some neighborhoods will not allow you to do that, and it's just like, why would you? Why would you restrict that? I mean, to me, any new apartment complexes, any kind of condos, that's one thing that you should be installing. So then that way you can help influence this. But it's going to take somebody like you or I that,
yeah.
join that community and push for it. So then that way they can go ahead and adopt. But other than that, it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Like,
Another argument we get from folks who don't realize, like it doesn't even occur to think about how the process works. They're like, oh, what if I forget to charge? Blah blah blah. Last night it was my wife's turn to plug in the car because we were coming in with our hands full, and the side of the car that she was on, it was her turn to plug it in. Didn't happen. I got out this morning, went to unplug it. It was already unplugged. Huh. But
well,
we we have enough battery capacity to go a couple of days without plugging in. And what I did when I got home today after dropping her off at work, I plugged it in. It's probably already done now, but if it's not, it will be done well before it's time to go pick her up again tonight. And
See?
even if I
Yeah.
forgot when I came home, we would still have enough for probably 2 more days of driving.
So that's exactly what I did last night. I got home at 2 a.m. this morning and I parked the orange one in the driveway and I was just like, hey, I ain't got time to charge it. Like, I'll do it in the morning. I think I was
Yeah.
at like 50%. And I mean, given I could have handled it for the rest of the day if I wanted to, but I was just
Hmm.
like, this morning, took the blue one out, went out to breakfast, and then I was like, now it's time to charge the orange one. Just threw it in the
Yeah.
garage and no big deal.
And it still
Like,
only took you
it's,
the 10 seconds that it always takes.
yes. And it's refueling itself, it's doing its
Exactly.
own thing.
And then
So,
and then if we
yeah,
forget, there's a like if we forget enough, and then we have like an emergency trip or whatever, you generally want to not leave it in the 20% range because that's bad for the battery and bad for emergencies coming up. But say something came up
right,
and we had to like go attend to a family emergency out of state. There are so many Electrify America, Charge Point, everything fast chargers for us that we could just go. And of course Tesla, you've seen the Tesla network. We
right.
can just go. The only problem is that adds 15 minutes to your trip where you could have taken the 10 seconds the day before.
Right. And so yeah, so I have friends that'll ask me that they're like, what if you forget to plug it in and it's like super low? And if I was at 25% right now and I had something where I had to run to, I can literally drive less than 5 miles, hit that CCS charger that's here in town, use that, get what I need, and go where I gotta go.
Yeah.
It's not it's just like if you didn't fuel up your car, you're gonna still have to stop and get gas, and then go do your thing. So at the end of the day, it's the same thing. You
Yeah.
charge up, you fuel up, you'll be able to get to where you need to be.
And you don't have that choice of waiting in the Walmart or Costco line for those family emergencies. You got to go. You're going to buy it at that expensive one on the highway.
Oh yes, oh yes. You're gonna hit
Yeah.
that $7 or $8 one that's like in California and
Yes.
learn a
Or in
valuable
Robert Williams,
lesson.
11.80 a pound or 11 pounds 80 a gallon.
That no, no,
Yeah.
no. You got to be rich to have a gas car out there now.
Yes. Oh man. So
So
another thing that happened this week is Boring Company has started their negotiations for their Texas loop because another problem we have with cars is traffic. And people say, "Oh, why not a train? Why not a bus?" That's another case of the same situation where we say, "Well, why not try something new? This isn't coming from the taxpayers. Well, at least the one in Vegas didn't come from the taxpayers. So why not try it out, see what happens?" And then if it fails, it's a tunnel. Shove a bus in it. Put some tracks. Put a small subway. So what happened here was this is the first time we've actually seen a competitor put in a bid against the Boring Company. They wanted to put electric buses and tunnels and overpasses, and well, they lost because if you thought the Boring Company was too many moving parts, that was a whole nother issue.
wow.
Their name was that was Bexar Automated Transport BAT.
Okay. Yeah. Don't know about them. Don't.
Yeah. So it is essentially right now just a bunch of Teslas driving in a tunnel underground. But when I look at the people who ride it in Vegas, I don't hear anybody who's actually been on it complaining, "Oh, why not a subway?" Because you got a couple things to worry about with a subway. Is one, they're expensive and they usually run over budget and over time. And then once
Right.
they are running, you got to stop at every stop. There's no bypass at the station. So if you want to get on at the last stop and get to the first stop, you got to ride at all the stops in between. Whereas with
Right.
the cars, they can just go around. They don't need to stop at the ones that you're not going to.
Oh, I didn't know they had a bypass on them. I thought it was just literally that you had to just, it was just from A to B. I didn't realize there was a bypass.
Yeah, yeah. So you can get on station A and get off at station C, and if somebody in between you stops at station B, the most you're slowing down is if you're on their bumper for some reason, which your driver shouldn't be doing, and the car definitely wouldn't be
Okay.
doing if it's in automated mode. Um,
Right.
if you're too close, you've got that half second waiting for them to turn, but that's the closest you'll have to slowing down. Whereas on a subway, you gotta wait at station B for them to disembark, wait for the new people to get on, the person who gets caught in the door.
About to say, you have that person that's going to struggle with the door, and then the door's trying to close, and then the train's not moving.
Mind
I've
the
been on those
gap.
situations. Yes. And you just want to go snatch them and bring them in real quick, but yeah, you're not
Yes,
allowed to. Yeah.
exactly.
So there you
Let's
go, man.
Yeah. And let's see. So we talked about the guy who was on the Tesla autopilot team who bought the software and was driving on his own, but he started a YouTube channel in violation of the company's social media policy. And it seemed that they either didn't know in time or they didn't care until after he had a little scuffle. And as soon as he had a scuffle, they let him go and turned off his beta access.
Yeah, well, company policy is company policy. My thing is, I mean, at the end of the day, they have their company policies, and if you work for a company, they're at will employers, and if they want to let go, if they want to let you go, they let you go. But those are the risks that happens when you work for a company. Just like if I worked for Apple and I was on beta and I'm showing different things, but yet my employee handbook says I cannot. Those that he opted to sit there and violate it, that was his choice. I don't care if he bought it or not. Beta is beta, and only certain people can do it. And I mean, he has access to other stuff, so he could share knowledge and information that wasn't being released as of now. And so I think that's where they're trying to just protect themselves, and
Yeah.
he violated it. So
Yeah, like he might forget that the one he's on isn't the one that everybody else is on and accidentally let something loose.
right,
Or run into something and have the news be like, this car is trying to kill people. Same thing with maybe not Apple, but say some company that actually would appreciate the publicity, like say maybe Samsung. So they're fine with it as long as he's saying good stuff. But the minute he says, "Oh man, the charger slowed down," or the charger brick died, or anything that even just has a little hint of negativity to it, they might then bring the full force of their social media policy against that
right.
particular individual.
Those are the risks you take when you start opening your mouth. I mean,
Yes.
I'm just saying. I mean, if you want to take that, I mean, it's people got to be, they got to be responsible for their actions. And if that's what he opted to do, then he has to live with the consequences.
Right. It'd be one thing if they didn't have a social media policy and they just retaliatory came after him, but
Right,
then I'd be up in arms. I'd be like, that's not how you treat people.
right.
Yeah.
That's a different story. But I mean, he works there. He should have known better. So that's where I'm at with that one.
Yeah. Like all his companies, I only see Elon and a couple of the top executives able to message without holding anything back. And even the people who work directly for Elon, I see them like they'll skip answers. Like you see them like you see they hit a little like, but they don't answer it.
Right,
It's like
right.
yeah.
Strategic. Yeah, they know that they can have consequences as well. So
Right, and at their level, you don't want to lose a director for a tweet,
no, I agree with you on that one,
and
man.
it's
I agree
happened.
100%. Yeah.
So what do you think about this Elon's master plan part 3? What do you suspect might be on that thing?
You know, I don't know. I can't answer that. Elon is an interesting character, and his plans. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's gonna be my best response to you on that one. I don't know. Elon is Elon, and I mean,
yeah.
I think his mind moves a whole lot faster than his mouth. So, um, he's
Yes. But sometimes the mouth is moving with the mind being asleep, though.
no, I think it's just trying to catch up, and by then he's already formulating a new plan. It's just like, but it said it, and he's moved on to something else in his head. So I don't know. That man, he's too smart for his own good. So
Sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah. So in addition to, we talked about how Austin has built their first white Model Y. Giga Berlin is now fully functional. They got their approval. They already had the party, and now they had like a little delivery signing ceremony. Like here's the keys. So that's exciting because as Tesla shareholders, that means they can put out more now
true.
in this climate.
Right, right.
Yeah.
No, I saw that.
Plus,
I saw the little smoke and all the excitement and yeah, I saw all that. I was
yeah.
wondering what that smoke was from. Like, what did they use to create that smoke? Was it pollution?
I
Can
hope
you tell
not.
me?
Hopefully, it was CO2.
So,
Yep. Little
no,
dry
but that's
eyes.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see how much they pump out of there. I mean, I know a lot of people are excited about it, and that the first deliveries looked like it went over very well. So,
Yeah. So I'm curious now that they finally are able to do that, are they going to find any more roadblocks? Like at this point now, they can just say, hey, look at the water meter. This is how much water we used, and then you look at the output to make sure they're not putting pollution in the water. They've already gotten over the fact that this was a cardboard forest. I call it that because the trees that they were growing on that site were literally used. They weren't even good enough for paper. They were literally just used them to make cardboard.
Oh, okay.
And
Uh, I
they had,
definitely think they're going to be watching them. They're going
oh
to be
yeah,
watching them.
yeah. So hopefully they can prove themselves out. I just can't see a large company like that doing the wrong thing with that many microscopes over them in that regard.
Well, I think they definitely know that Giga Berlin is being watched, and they know how much red tape they had to get through to be able to open those doors. So it would behoove them to sit there and do the right thing and not skip any steps, because as soon as they do, everybody's going to hear about it.
Absolutely. And speaking of red tape and people watching you, we've got a case where the East Hartford Tesla service center that was under construction has now been halted because the local dealer lobby has decided that
Oh yeah.
that is restricting the freedom of local consumers. They say.
Yep. 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 So what's your take on that? Like, what do you feel on that?
I say that if their method is so good and is all that they claim it is, to the point where they made a cartoon about how awesome it is, then they should just prove it rather than trying to get somebody else to fight their battle for them. If you're that much better, then people are going to flock to you anyway.
Once again, you're going back into, you got to realize people are comfortable with what works, and change, they don't like change. So
Right, or
you,
having
you
somebody
got
mess with their money.
right, because you think about it, like, all of them, if that model works and it's able to be used, what's going to stop the other manufacturers from doing that and then making the dealerships obsolete?
Right, and
They
that's what I think what the dealers are most afraid of.
right.
Uh,
So
I mean, there is a
they
little bit of
stop
money
them.
they're losing, but they're afraid of the big money.
Well, they're going to lose a lot of money because, if people go direct and do their orders, and they don't have to, they could bypass the dealerships. That's a huge chunk.
Right, but if they do what they say they're doing, and they make it a value add, like if I can get this from buying from the manufacturer, but I can have a better experience buying from Jimbo Ford local, why would I not get it from Jimbo's Hyundai or whoever?
Right.
If they say that if they say it and they back it up, who am I? Like
Yeah.
like if I have a better experience, like even if it's just a matter of like, hey, I order from Ford Model E and they drop it off in my driveway. They don't teach me how to use it, but I can get it from that Ford store for like $25 more, and they still drop it off in my driveway. But here's a salesman showing me how to work the car. That's a
Right.
value add.
Right. It is. It is. It is. Or having the option to go drive them and do everything else. I mean, it
Yeah,
absolutely helps. So yeah, I hear you.
they've got ways to fix it. They just don't want to.
They, they don't want to. There you go. That's your
Yeah,
answer right there.
yeah.
They're stuck in their ways.
Stuck in their ways. It'd just be nice if they'd stop using legal shenanigans to do it. But
We're a
that's what's gonna get.
litigious
We
society.
are.
Like that's
We are.
that's all we function on. It's like, oh, what you say? Oh, lawsuit. Hold on, real quick. That automatically you open your mouth and it's like, oh, let me just sue, and then we'll see where it goes. Even if they don't win, it's just so they could be disruptive.
Exactly.
So
Speaking of spinning deals, though, Tesla has secured a contract with Hyundai Glovis to ship cars out of China. And you say Hyundai Glovis, that's because Hyundai, Samsung, a bunch of Korean and Japanese companies are actually large conglomerates. And so, like, you'll see a Samsung bulldozer out there in the fields if you pay attention to it. And so this is really cool because right now they're making the most cars of all out of China. So in order to get them
right,
around Asia and Europe, you need a way to actually maneuver them, and so this is a big win for them to be able to have secured transport for them, especially after we saw that one of these was lost when with a whole bunch of VWs and Porsches on it. So that makes it
woo,
even more tough to get another ship right now.
right, right, right. That was a hard hit, man. That
Yeah.
was unbelievable.
Yeah, they lost a couple of EVs too, a couple of Porsches and a bunch of ID4s, which is really unfortunate because that's what we need right now is more EVs. And if they don't make it to the customer, they don't get to do their work.
And
Right,
Sergio's car. Sorry.
Yeah, and
man.
one
None of
one
mine.
Right, there you go. The other good thing we see is that with the electric cars is people say, oh well, the EVs are dirtier, blah blah blah. Yes, it's true. It does take more energy to build an EV, but because it takes less energy to fuel and maintain an EV, by the time that gas car hits its first or second oil change, then the EV has already equaled it, and then from that point on, the car will only ever be dirtier than the electric car, even if you go do a bunch of engine overhauls, because the engine overhaul is the
Right,
next time that a gas car is ever clean, as it is from the factory. Everything in between, it's only getting worse because etc. So the people who want to say, "Oh well, EVs are dirtier to build," blah blah blah. If you're throwing a car away after the second oil change, then we've got a bigger issue here. Because you're still on the first set
yeah.
of tires by the time the first oil change is over.
It depends on what kind of car it is. I have
Well, that's true.
worn
Some of
out
them
some
have some
tires.
soft tires.
I have worn out some tires before an oil change. So, but no, I agree with you on that one. And even then, that car is still going to be a polluter at the end of the day because whoever buys it, the second owner, third owner, it's going to still be a polluter, and it's going to just contribute to the problem that we have right now when it comes to climate. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
So this is a question we've had before on the show. We're like, what constitutes luxury? Well, according to Kelly Blue Book, Tesla has won the Best Overall Luxury Brand Award for the third year in a row. And their methodology was to ask a bunch of car shoppers what they picked. And that's how they were able to do this. But as we've said on the show before, I don't really think a Tesla is a luxury car. I mean, they're expensive, but and they've got leather. Well, leather,
Well,
but what makes them a luxury? I mean, I understand like some people want the minimalism, but a lot of other brands they consider luxury to be a lot of buttons and switches. Like you get in and it's like a 747 cockpit.
right. So, I personally do not. My opinion, and I'll continue to say that as well, is like I don't see Tesla to be luxury at all.
Yeah, I'd
The
say
model,
premium at
the
best.
Yeah, the Model S is borderline when it gets to it because it's almost there with its setup. But I mean, luxury is you're talking about a whole different level of experience, and I mean, yeah, I can't say that it's luxury. I mean, even with the Mach-E's, like these aren't luxury. I mean,
No,
they have the same stuff that these Teslas have in them. It's not luxury to me. It's not.
right?
They're their vehicle. They're like you mentioned. They're premium at best.
Yeah, premium, maybe executive saloons, but not. They're not luxury cars. I mean, but congratulations for winning the award, guys. But maybe earn it. Not by
You know
methodology, but
what?
like earn the title. Put
I
another
see
trim
you
up there.
chose some violence. You chose some violence today, and
I did.
yeah, yeah, I see that.
So then on top of that, we were talking about regulations earlier. So the NHTSA has removed the requirement that you have human controls in a fully autonomous vehicle. So they said basically, I looked for if I was looking to see if they got rid of the requirement for mirrors, and there's no mention of mirror other than saying that you need to mirror the passenger side setup with what would be the driver side setup if you remove the controls. And this is awesome and super scary at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know if I would be comfortable doing that just yet. I mean, I've no, I'm no. We'll 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 go with a no for me. That's a no for me.
That's a
Final
no for
answer,
me,
no.
dog. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But hey, I'm gonna leave you with Dan because I
Okay.
gotta run.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for
But
coming
I
by.
do appreciate
Appreciate it.
the opportunity to come in and join you guys. Dan, nice to see you as well. Robert, thanks for
Hey,
asking those
always.
questions and jumping on as well. This was great. I will try to join you guys on another one. Maybe
Absolutely.
after this finish gets getting the rest of its updates, and even after that one gets its update to have more performance as well, where they remove that 5 second thing. That's coming. So
I'm waiting for that one
I'll
because
talk.
that 5 second
Yeah,
thing. Dawood says hi.
yeah. Hey, man. But yeah, so nice talking to you guys.
You
I
too. Thank
truly
you for coming by.
appreciate it. No, absolutely. You guys have a good one.
You too.
All right.
All right. So while we were talking about regulations and self driving, we talked about Mercedes earlier in the show, how they're willing to accept the liability of autonomous cars. Let me make this bigger here. I'm on another screen than I'm used to. So Mercedes is willing to accept liability while autonomous drive is engaged. This is only a level 3 system, so it still requires a human, and yet they're willing to take the liability. So let's see how they phrase this here. So this is on the EQS, and they're going to launch Drive Pilot in some areas of the U.S. By the end of last year, we were the first automaker to get international certification for a Level 3 system. We're aiming to get that for California and Nevada by the end of this year, and we're checking a lot of other states as well. All right, so it opens up a can of worms. Hey, it's Omar. So,
What can you say?
so we don't really like they point out we don't have many regulations for autonomous driving systems. And let's see.
Is this a Mario Bar situation? No, it's not. We were the
I,
first to get it internationally.
I don't know. So let's do a Control F on this article here and search for liability. It only shows up one time in the headline. So let's see.
Has the FSD made it to a level 3 system?
Technically, it operates as one, but legally, it still is a level 2 system.
Tracking.
Especially since you got to keep hanging onto the wheel.
Oh,
If
I
you
see
stop
it
hanging
right
onto the
there.
wheel,
I said
it
current
moves out.
systems are considered level 2. It says
Yep.
at the bottom. I see it.
Yep, all the current systems. But there is one level 3 system in Japan. So I think what they can claim first is like we said, when you start splitting hairs, they're the first internationally recognized because the Honda level 3 system is only on certain highways in Japan. And it isn't really level 3, but
Another
they're
Mario.
willing to take that risk.
Right. Okay.
So
So
Okay,
I
and
think
so for all those out there watching, what's the difference between level 2 and level 3?
the amount of scenarios it functions in is all I can get with it. So let's look that up together and and get us a good definition so we're on the same page here. So let's go
I,
here to open up a tab, autonomous.
I think this is well. I think Mercedes is like will accept the liabilities. This is Mercedes. They're not cheap, so I think they can afford.
This
They
is
can
true.
afford some of
They've
the
got a little bit of
liabilities.
room to afford
It's
it.
only this one car, and these person that owns this one car should be not as dense as the very first adopters that just let their car drive into a wall, i.e., new Tesla owners. So I think they weighed the pros and the cons here. So yeah, they got enough money in their coffers. They know their customers are smart enough. And if they're not, or there was an accident, we got you because you was using the system. That's if you were actually using the system. So I'm sure their lawyers are ready for this,
Well, here's the
which
thing.
makes it
Like
smart.
with all these vehicles, they know whether or not you are using the system. So
Yes.
just like Tesla, they know when people claim, "Oh, my car was on autopilot," because they just didn't want to take responsibility of a crash.
Right.
Tesla could go in, look at the logs, and say, "No,
No,
it wasn't on autopilot. You're lying. It's on you." You know.
Right. There was a lady this morning cutting people off left and right. She hopped out on us. I knew she was going to make a maneuver, but I just didn't think she would try to do it into me. It was like that person looks like they are not all there, and then she made a move. So I was already ready, expecting it. I wasn't in self drive at all. I was full manual. So I slammed on the brakes and laid on the horn, and she's looking at us like, "Oh, why is everybody beeping the horn?" And then a few feet later, she cut somebody else off, almost slams into them. That person wasn't paying attention to her. Then you hear the horn go off over there, and then you see her dip back out of the lane that she was in, and somebody like that would say, because literally she's like the expression on her face is like, "Why is everybody beeping?" It's
I
like
hate
she's leaving no room, almost slamming into people, and so those are the same people that would say, "Oh yeah, no, the car just ran into it himself." Yeah,
yeah. If you could tell my escapades on a Friday evening, I run those people all the time. Sometimes I just have to let off my gas for them to actually give a appropriate window for them to go through. If I
right.
catch them
Oh, I
properly.
do that all the time, Dan. I let people in. Like if they're
Yeah,
driving all reckless, I don't want to become part of their nightmare. I
yeah.
will literally, put on the brakes or whatever. And sometimes, like even if I'm on autopilot, sometimes autopilot doesn't react to like not yet. It doesn't react to like predictive behavior. Like when you see somebody driving reckless, you can predict, okay, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do something extra stupid. Let me give them extra space. But
Oh,
autopilot
yeah.
doesn't do that. It doesn't know. It's just reacting to what people are already doing. So what
The
I
the beta
do,
is better at that, but it's also not infallible.
right? So sometimes I've even taken over from autopilot and like pump the brakes
Yep.
just to allow and give the room for the person to do the stupid thing that I know they're going to do anyway.
Right. My favorite is when it catches it before me. It's like, oh, I was about to do that.
You're learning.
Well,
And that's
when you think about it, it has billions of miles of experience. I
It
only
does.
have probably a couple million miles of experience, like maybe 3. And it has a couple billion miles of experience. So it's seen some tomfoolery out there. But as Omar was saying, it's a machine. It doesn't always have the context. So it may have the experience, but it might not understand that Jeeps don't accelerate very quickly. So if one cuts out in front of you going slow, it's not going to suddenly start going fast. So you should probably slow down. And I'm talking like the Wranglers, because you always see the Wranglers with the big old
I
mud
know.
tires. And whoop!
Look at any
Yep.
old ice I have, and it's like, yeah, you're not going fast nowhere. So they're not accelerating fast. You can predict that.
Right. But when you see the mud tires on it, you know already that it's very likely been
yeah,
geared for
that's
off-roading,
true.
so it can't accelerate on the highway
Yeah.
to do the maneuver they just started to pull off.
I had to let some semis go fast this morning due to that reason.
Some semis go faster than you'd expect. And I'm not talking the Teslas either.
Yes.
Well, they got all that power to tow all those heavy loads.
Right, so if they're running empty or running
a light load, or if
exactly,
they're empty at the time or something, they got some
Man.
giddy up.
That's
They
right.
was pooping and getting it this morning. I just decided to get to the far left and let them go for a minute.
Vincent's being too generous about this catch. And I'm surprised Autopilot doesn't seem to react to sirens yet. This is true because Autopilot doesn't really have any ears yet. So it does react to flashing lights at night. And other times it'll sometimes pull over to the edge of the lane for not sirens, but for flashing lights. But it's not something you can rely on. But other times, like I've seen it do it for a car that's like a flat tire or whatever without any sort of like it didn't put any flares or lights. There's no tow truck. There's nothing to signify that, except that maybe it sees the person and then it pulls hard over to the edge of the lane. And I like that. But I can't count on that either.
Slows down. So I've noticed that Autopilot will slow down, even though it's something that's not in your lane. There might be on the shoulder or the next lane over. If there's something that's stationary there or whatever, Autopilot slows down significantly. And I've noticed
don't know what's going to come out. Yeah,
because it's kind of worried that it's just trying to be safe. Which
exactly.
I think that's a good thing that they've started doing that now. That was a change. It didn't used to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know at what point in time and which update that it happened, but I appreciate the fact that it does slow down. So even when I see emergency vehicles on the side or whatever with the flashing lights and all that, the car does slow down.
Absolutely. So we wanted to discuss the levels of autonomy to get on the same page here. Depending on what organization you're using, 4 and 5 are one level, and in other cases they are separate. It depends on which revision of the standard you're looking at and whose standard. There's like 2 or 3 different versions of this worldwide. And so this particular version of the SAE regulations at the time that this graphic was made was that level 0 is no automation. You're fully driving, fully steering, fully controlling speed, blinkers, all of that. There's no assist whatsoever. Level 1 is driver assist. So it's controlled by the driver, but some assist features may be included in the vehicle design, such as regular cruise control or lane keep assist, where the car is going to kind of keep it from accidentally drifting into another lane. Or just what I like to call radar cruise, which is basically smart cruise, where it's not going to run up the rear of the car in front of you if they slow down. Then you've got parcel automation, which is the vehicle's combined automated functions like acceleration and steering, but the driver must remain engaged with the driving task and monitor the environment at all times. So is using 2 or more systems at a time. So that lane keep assist and the smart cruise control automatically makes it level 2. So this level 2 is wide because in addition to that, you've got on one end of it, you've got full self-driving beta, and on the other end, you've got a Toyota that's just running radar cruise and to make sure that you don't accidentally steer out of the lane. They're both level 2. They're not equally capable. So what we're seeing in the case of Honda in Japan, and what Mercedes is saying that they're taking the liability on, but it only appeared in the headline, was conditional automation.
Huh? And that one particular car.
Right. Well, I expect it to be just one car. I mean, if you're taking liability, that means your insurance company knows what you're up to. And So what these cars are doing, the driver is a necessity, but is not required to monitor the environment. The driver must be ready to take control of the vehicle at all times with notice. So so this is why the Japanese one counts, even though it probably shouldn't. It shouldn't because it's not as capable of sensing as you would expect. But they do limit it to just a couple roadways, very similar to Super Cruise, where only on mapped roads, blah blah blah. So at that point, they let you take your hands off the wheel. You don't have to keep your eyes on the road. So even Super Cruise is still level 2 because Super Cruise, if your eyes leave the road for too long, that thing's beeping at you and about to disengage, just like autopilot does. Disengage, stop in the lane, kick you out for the rest of the drive. So in that case, like you can read a book or whatever, but you cannot sleep. You can't leave the driver's seat, and you have to be ready with anywhere from a minute to 15 minutes or some sort of defined period where the car's like, hey, I need you to take over. I can't handle this. And it has to let you know, hey, do it now. Right. So level 4 is the vehicle's capable of performing all driving functions under certain conditions. The driver may have the option to control the vehicle, or they may not. So this level 4 right here is the one where they say that you can remove the steering wheel and the brakes. The difference between level 4 and level 5 is really about where it can drive itself. So level 4 can be certain roads, certain conditions, but it's not guaranteed to be everywhere. So at that point, if the car encounters something it can't handle, you don't have to be present or aware, but it can't continue either. So I don't know if it pulls over the shoulder and tries to wake you up, or if it just waits.
Moments you didn't respond to the wheel on the first Tesla, you just pulled you over to the side and waited 15 minutes.
I would argue so. No, I guess not. I mean, you can almost make the argument that FSD beta is almost about level 3 at this point. The only difference is it does monitor you and require you to pay attention, and it won't let you ride for too long without paying attention.
Right, but I have a feeling that if they removed that block of code and it was on a safe road, it probably could do it. But I've seen it drive, and I wouldn't want to be the one in the car trying it out.
Well, there was a recent update as well to FSD beta. I don't know if you got that update yet.
No, they skipped me for one. What happened?
There's the latest update. They said is a lot better now, and like it's very impressive as far as the reliability is. So it's definitely improving. They're getting there.
I'll believe it when I see it.
I'd be surprised. I think Homar's catalog was tweeting about it.
Yeah, yesterday. But he's always saying it's good. Other Omar either has perfect roads or he has a better build than I do. Because man,
yeah, maybe it's his location. I don't know.
I'm not saying he's lying. I'm just saying it doesn't track in my car.
I think he's on a different version as well because he was saying he was on.
Right, but I mean, there have been times where we were on the same version. He's like, I didn't even have to touch the wheel once. I'm like, man, I've been correcting this thing all morning. Yeah, so I'm not calling him a liar. I'm just saying that it might not track in my car. Exactly.
Different scenarios, different situations, right?
Which is why GM only allows Super Cruise on certain roads, and why Waymo only works in Phoenix.
Right.
Location matters. So the last level, like I said, is often combined with level 4. So like either depending on where you're looking at, there either won't be a level 4 and they'll just jump straight to 5, or there won't be a 5 and they'll just combine 5 and 4. Full automation. The vehicle is capable of performing all driving functions under all conditions. The driver may have the option to control the vehicle. So it's possible that FSD may only make it to level 4 if they don't ever change the cameras and stuff, because we know the thing can't seem to drive in the rain. It sits there complaining, hey, it's raining. My wipers. So
forget about it in the snow.
At the moment, yeah, it's not a very smart snow driver.
Not only that, it can't see; it gets blinded.
That too.
So I think that's why Tesla's working on those lasers.
Yeah,
to keep stuff clear.
Lasers.
Speaking of the lasers, let me pull up our little chat here. Dan put an article in about the lasers. So we talked about this briefly on another show.
Brilliant segue.
that Tesla had put in a patent for lasers. Well, it looks like the patent has been approved now. And so what we're seeing here is that this is intended to clear debris off of the windshield, or other windows in this case. But then there's also the possibility that this will be used to clear water off of the windshield. You can just evaporate
It
it.
is debris.
Right, and I think it is. I think the purpose of this is to keep the cameras clear.
Yes.
So whether it's rain, whether it's snow, whatever it is, they need to do something to try to keep the cameras clear so that the car can drive in all conditions.
Exactly. Because if it can't see, it can't drive. And with them removing sensor after sensor, that means it's going fully optical, just like us humans are. So they can't cheat and use radar to look through the fog.
And he did say that it's starting to predict the driving patterns elsewhere on the last tech day. So
Yeah.
it's starting to be predictive of the spaces around it so it can make those genuine accidents. I think that this dorky moment, this reminds me of that moment in Superman Returns where he flattens himself out, he looks and does a widespread focus beam so that every debris falls gets evaporated. This is what I imagine that's going to be. It'd be cool if it did, because that's a feature you're going to start having your car doing stuff that others don't. So if you got that rich money like our buddy, then you can be like, oh yeah, I want this car like that. So it works
It's
out.
just called savvy investing. You don't have to be rich to have nice things.
This might be. I hope the lasers end up in hardware 4 or whatever the next.
I hope that they're on my Cybertruck.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was getting at. The next iteration, which the Cybertruck's going to have, with the better cameras and hopefully with the lasers.
Yes. So if you look in your more information about your car page on your Tesla, and you see it says CCS enabled, that means that you are now able to get the CCS retrofit kit for your Tesla Model 3 or Model Y. Well, actually, you don't even need the retrofit kit. You can just get the adapter and be done with it. But if your car is just a little bit older, 3 or Model Y, you can get the retrofit kit, which is very similar to what we had in Europe, where they put in the Powerline communications chip, which allows the car to speak CCS's language. So then that also comes with not just the chip you need; it also comes with the CCS adapter. So
I need the retrofit.
Does yours say it says not enabled or not installed?
Not enabled. Mine says not enabled.
Not enabled. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need the kit.
So
Pop that into your services and see what they say how much it'll cost. I'm curious. So yeah, if it says not installed, then you're going to need everything. If it's not enabled, then you just need.
Yeah, let me go check real quick. I think mine says not enabled. I don't think it says not installed.
All right. Looking forward to that. And so then here is what you need to order to get that. You need to order part number 1652004-00-A for the Model 3 and Model Y. And then on the Model 3, you might also need the same, but instead of a 4, a 5. And it's called the Kit Retrofit CCS1 Adapter.
So this is the CCS is the one that the old Bolts uses, correct? The old Leafs?
No, that's Chatamo, which the Leaf and the Teslas have. But the CCS is what the American and European standard is. So you'll be able to use every station once you've got this in there.
Sweet.
Yeah. Well, every station except the old ones that don't have CCS on them, which are super rare. And it'll charge at full speed. Like they were finding out that you're not limited to 100 kilowatts. Although if you get the Chinese copy, that's not the Tesla version, then you'll be limited to probably about 35 to 50 kilowatts, depending on because basically it's emulating the Chatamo.
Why did
connection.
I think that the Chatamo was the better over the CCS?
Well, Chatamo is bidirectional by default, so it's more capable as far as features, but its max speed is currently lower. There are ways to make it go faster, but since nobody's using them anymore except Nissan, why invest in the stations? Because even Nissan is except for the new Leafs for some reason, even Nissan is switching back to CCS.
Yeah. The 2018s and earlier Leafs that they redesigned, and it's like, that's a Leaf, and I'm like, no, it is a Leaf.
Okay, so I checked and I stand corrected. Mine is not installed.
Oh, just like this one?
Yep.
Cool. So what you need is part number. So go to your Tesla app, ask them for a quote to install part number 1652004 00-A and see how much they quote you, and if they'll do it in your driveway or if you have to bring it into the shop.
Look, I'm looking at the app right now. I'm
gonna paste it in the chat. That way you can just copy and paste it into your phone
in real time.
That'd be awesome if they answer them today. My service center won't answer me that fast.
I know they're not going to answer today. It's Sunday.
Oh, okay. Mine will answer that fast if I'm already in the queue, but typically I got to wait a little bit until they know I'm in line. Okay, so next up, Tesla in Germany. Now that they're operating, they have a new feature called Tesla. So it's very similar to what they do for service, where you can come back to the service center and your keys will be locked in the car and you just open it up with your app and go. Except that now this is with new car sales, probably used cars too. You open up the car with the app, take your keys out, do your inspection, sign your documents, and then they let you drive off. Which is good if you're a working professional and you just can't seem to get the time off of work to go deal with the car, or maybe you've got a busy family and you just can't. You just can't. So you show up at 9 o'clock at night, you drive off with your car.
This is going to be interesting. I think you would have at least one person just floating around in case for technical difficulties, but this is actually quite interesting.
I don't think you would, because then you got to pay that person overtime.
Or you could have a person dedicated for that night shift, so it's only one person.
But you're paying that one person overtime. Tesla's cheap. They'd be like, you didn't get it to work? We'll see you in the morning. Come on through.
Or that one person that's only for that shift, so they won't get overtime, but...
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's just their job.
Yeah.
I don't see Tesla doing that. They like to save money.
You come in at night, you'll be our guy in case something happens. You ain't got to do much. Just be here. It'd be the sweetest thing ever.
Yep. So then over on the Tesla Life a couple weeks ago, we talked about a new Model Y appearing on the EPA webpage. It's not for sale yet. As you see, that it doesn't have MSRP on it, just like the standard range rear-wheel drive does not have a price on it, because that's not for sale in the US. But it has been tested, so it exists. So the interesting things are, it's got an efficiency of 123 mpge combined, and it's got a range of 279 miles. And then, did they say that? They didn't say the battery, but you can deduce the battery from the watt hours per kilometer, as well as, or the kilowatt hours per 100 miles in this case, and total range. So it's looking like this is a standard range all-wheel drive. Still not for sale though, but this may be an option that gets them there, because the reason that Elon said they didn't want to sell the standard range anymore is it got less than 250 miles range new at 244. This solves that problem. You can use the smaller battery pack and still get the range you need.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then we talked about the delivery event that actually happened. The article I have was that it was coming soon, so we can skip on that because it happened. All right, so let's take a look at this. So one thing I found with the using the other computer, if I'm not logged in, it doesn't have me trying to control it from two different places. So when I share, it doesn't make me click the button twice.
Sweet.
Because I'm in control of it over here. But if I can get the microphone stunner, you might not have heard me tapping on the microphone if that thing worked. If I can get the microphone stunner to work on the other computer, then I can just use one machine for everything. All right, so BYD has launched their Destroyer 05. And one thing I found interesting is that the Destroyer 05 is part of the Ocean series. And who else has an Ocean EV? Destroying it, huh? So I wonder if they had aimed any part of that at the Fisker Ocean. But the good thing is more EVs for us to choose from. This is in China, and it's very, very affordable. Look at this, 18.8. So 19,800 RMB to 155,800 RMB. That's downright affordable. And typically in the States, we think of BYD as a bus company because that's all that they're actually authorized to sell here because their cars so far have not passed U.S. crash standards. But their buses do. So this one in particular is a plug-in hybrid, which it's amazing that you can get two powertrains for that price. Let's see, we're looking at a range of 55 kilometers for pure electric range and 120 kilometers on the other model. So you can, and for 2001 car replacement subsidy as well. So China's actually doing the same thing that we sometimes do, where they subsidize you buying the right car.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm guessing the yuan and RMB are the same. So it doesn't seem to help that much, but I'll take some coupon than no coupon anytime.
Very true.
I don't know if I want a car named the Destroyer 05 though. It has a peak power of 81 kilowatts, which is sufficient, or 135 newton meters of torque, and 0 to 62, so 0 to 100 kilometers in 7.3 seconds.
81 kilowatts. Isn't that the same as the Leaf?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it's not a speed demon, but it's not a slouch either. I mean, because 7 seconds was a really fast family car back in the day. In fact, there's still some new cars that don't do that on fossils today. There are not a lot of them, but there's still some.
True.
Like that Jeep with the mud tires. This interior is looking really reminiscent to me. Who else had it like that? Like a Model 3 and a Nhtsa smushed together? Yeah?
Oh, this is...
But it's amazing you can do all that for this price, though. Because that doesn't look like a punishment mobile, assuming that it passes the Chinese crash standards.
The punishment mobile.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I keep saying, you shouldn't have to suffer because you can't afford too much car. Definitely not in the safety aspect, but I understand not including a bunch of little techno baubles and leather seats or not say leather because you got the vegan leather on the Tesla, but I understand some things being more Spartan than others. But
can I talk about that vegan leather for a second? That is
excuse me,
one
go
of
ahead.
the big pet peeves is the vegan leather.
Why so?
Because you're using other materials, polymers and such, to create this vegan leather, which actually is less environmentally conscious as real actual leather. And the reason I say that is that your actual animal leather, where it comes from, is the animals that get slaughtered for their meat. So you're actually utilizing more of the animal. If you don't use their hide for the leather, now you're just wasting that hide. It's actually wasteful. It's actually more environmentally cautious to use the entirety of the animal. Nobody is slaughtering animals solely for their hide just to make leather. That doesn't happen. The animals are being slaughtered for other reasons to make, beef, steaks, whatever, and they're being eaten. And then the hide is then used to make the leather. So it's actually a very natural, biodegradable material that you're using, that you're just utilizing the part of the animal that would have been discarded anyway. So to me, it just makes more sense to go ahead and use actual leather versus vegan leather.
I don't think they would actually discard it because there's still more stuff you can use it for, but not as profitable as putting it into a jacket, a couch, or a car seat. The problem with the leather, as far as environmentally is concerned, is all the chemicals needed to stabilize it so that it doesn't biodegrade. Because if you took off our skin and just left it in a car, it wouldn't last very long, and so you got to preserve it. And all those preservatives and all the process, they.
But is that really? Are those processes actually a lot worse than the vegan leather that's being made?
I don't know if they're worse than the vegan leather, but they're pretty harmful to the environment. We're talking heavy metals and other exhaust and byproducts. But the other problem is that even though right now it's a byproduct, if for some reason everybody went plant based for their food, if there was still a demand for leather, then you would have them killing the animals just for the hide. It's just that right now that
Of course, in that scenario, you would absolutely transition completely off of the hide
yeah
at that point.
yeah. But then there's the matter of for the vegans. It's the whole reason that PETA kept getting up and asking for more and more of the car to be vegan until they stopped going to the meetings. It seems. It's like she'd stand up and I was like, "Oh, Elon, you got to do something now. What you got to do now?" And so first it was the seats, then it was all the seats, and then it was the steering wheel.
Steering wheel, yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
So
"What's next?" And then she didn't show up again.
now, see, and that's the part that I'm just like, you know what? It's just catering to the appearance of such to a certain segment.
Well, at the same time, though, if you believe in not being cruel to any living creatures, then you would like to not have any byproducts. Like these people who live the lifestyle, not just they don't eat the meat, they don't do any of the cruelty, they don't get their medicines tested on animals, they don't get anything to do with animals, and it's kind of they won't even buy like a used leather jacket like from Goodwill. They're like, nope, it has some cruelty in it, and so I respect it. I don't always understand it because you're looking at a pig that was already going to die for food, and you didn't want to take the medicine. I respect it, but there are certain levels that I don't understand the strictness of it. But I do get on some levels where they're coming from.
Yeah, to me, it's just it's a principle that I get it on principle, but at the same time, it just logically doesn't make a lot of sense to me
Yeah.
in certain aspects.
So Joel says naturals versus plastic doesn't always work. Compare the energy and water used for fabric bags versus plastics. Yeah. Yeah. But then you've got the other matter of fabric seats. We used to have them as an option on the Teslas, and we used to have them on other cars, still on some lower level cars. As far as they seem to think that having a smooth seat is luxury. So you've got a lot of cars with vinyl. Huh?
When it comes to cleaning
it is easier to clean.
It's easier to clean, and when it comes to Tesla specifically, I'm sure they made the decision at some point. Okay, we want to have the least amount of options as possible.
Yeah.
This way, it helps our manufacturing process,
right,
and our part supplies.
Right, and then you also had all the Tesla owners that were showing up with micrometers to measure every little scratch and door gap and sending it back for every little thing. So when you have a natural material for your seat, it's going to have scars from where the cow rubbed up against the barbed wire. The two seats might not be the exact same color, and that probably just got rid of that headache for them as well. In addition to being able to make the lady at PETA stop screaming at him at the meetings. Yeah, so I respect what she was going for, and I think it was bold of Tesla to just change everybody. Rather, like when she first asked, she's like, "Can we have a vegan option?" And they made an option, and then all of a sudden it became standard. I think that was after another one of her meetings, but before they had nothing. Like, you can get cloth. It's like, oh well, I wanted it to be easy to clean too.
Oh no, I 100% understand why they just made it standard across the board, and why they didn't say, okay, you have the option of this, and then you have the option of that. Because every time they have options, the more options you have, the more complexity it is for your whole manufacturing process and everything. So I get it as far as that goes.
Yeah,
like people actually think when they sit down and they order their car, and they go on the computer and they order their car, that they're ordering one specifically that's going to be made just for them, and the factory is going to say, okay, this is Omar's car, let's make this particular one.
Yeah,
they're not doing
but
that.
Usually they're like, oh yeah, he's got one of the 100,000. Yeah,
they're making a whole bunch of that option, they're making a whole bunch of that option, and then they're going, okay, who needs what?
Right,
this person ordered that, give them that one. This person ordered that, give them that one.
Right. Like in the case of my unicorn, they didn't exactly make it specifically for me, but they're like, all right, so we're shutting down the diamond black paint line. How many more of these things do we need to make before we shut this down? All right, Casey, your car's in line. And then one of them was mine. But Yeah, they don't do bespoke at Tesla. Like there are some car companies that will sit down and by the time you put your order in, the serial number spits out the computer. Yeah, that's a real thing, but
And yeah, and
not at their level.
those cars are very expensive.
Very expensive. They have very prestigious names like actually probably not even them like a Maybach for instance, but maybe not a regular Bentley or regular Rolls. They might still be serial. But
Yeah,
same thing as the Tesla. Like you've ordered it, and now they need to make sure that one of these exists in the system somewhere to put your name on. But there are bespoke autos out there, and as Omar said, they're not cheap. Speaking of not cheap, let's take a look at this one. So Pirelli is talking about making a EV car tire. Now we've seen this from Michelin and Goodyear already. We haven't seen them on the road, but we've seen them for sale, or not for sale, but like the press release, and that's kind of what this is here too. It's kind of a press release, but they are going to have the Pirelli P0 All Season Plus with Elect marking. And the Elect is short for electric because you only have so much room on the sidewall of a tire for printing. And so they claim several advantages, such as the tire has low rolling resistance, which increases your range and reduces your energy consumption, making stops at chargers less frequent. When coupled with a high range vehicle like the Lucid Air Dream Edition or the Model S all wheel drive, the Pirelli Electric Series decreases road contact, making the vehicles more efficient. When the tires are fitted on the vehicles, Pirelli shows a reduction in rolling resistance by 15%, translating into direct improvement in the battery life cycle. So then you're going to have
you
some
would
more
think that
advantages.
would actually be more important for gas vehicles to increase their
Yeah.
gas mileage and burn less fossil fuels than
Right, but like we were talking with with
EVs that
Sergio,
are already efficient. I mean, yes,
right?
range is important for EVs. However, when you're looking at a high range vehicle like a Model S or Lucid Air, you I mean you already have enough range for you know in Tesla's case, you have so many superchargers out there. You pretty much drive anywhere you want. Um,
Yeah,
I would think that you would want that for all vehicles, not just EVs.
right. But that like we were talking about with Sergio, when you've always done things a certain way, and you're not even thinking of ways it could be different, maybe they just didn't care for the gas cars. And it's a lot more apparent when you have 2 gallons or less of fuel to travel on equivalent than if you could just
That
add
and,
another
and
gallon to the system.
that and if you could afford the Lucid Air Dream Edition, you got the money for these tires. I
Right,
mean,
but you don't
just
necessarily have the time to stop on road trips. You're a
yeah,
busy
that's
person.
true too. Get more efficient. So
Yep. So
mm,
another concern with EVs and tires is road noise, because
Yes.
there's nothing to hide the road noise. So this is another thing that they're going to tackle with this car is to make the car quieter. Tesla's had a particularly large problem with this because they have some very picky consumers. Not all of them, but they have some that are extremely picky, and so uh, this will help quiet them.
I have
Uh,
noticed that Teslas have started making their cars a lot quieter over the
they
years.
have.
My Model Y is leaps and bounds way quieter than my old Model S was.
Yep. They do things like making the car out of less pieces, so there's less stuff to creak, rattle, and rub. They've added the dual pane front windows. They've already had a dual pane front window, but they've been making that thicker and thicker. They've added active noise cancellation on the Model S and X lately. So Pirelli calls theirs active noise cancellation as well. Pirelli, what do they call it? Pirelli noise cancellation system. Sorry, not active. I was wondering how you could do that without electricity in your tire. They developed this technology to reduce interior noise. So basically, it's the same as Goodyear and Michelin. They've got sound absorbing material on the inside of the circumferential
So basically, they got
wall.
the foam in there.
They got the foam in there. Maybe some patterns in the rubber on the inside that like to acoustically shape it. That helps
Yep.
too. Let's see. They also are helping support the immediate grip that EVs have. Okay, I was wondering, because when you reduce rolling resistance, depending on how you do it, you can also reduce grip. So you can actually keep them both if you do it right, and that's a focus, a goal of the design. And obviously here it was the goal of the design, which is good.
And the weight
and
of
the weight,
of the vehicles to support the
yes,
weight, because
they're
EVs
heavy.
are heavier.
Yes, and you want your tires to be as light as possible because the more weight you're carrying, the less fuel economy you get. So
Right. So try to have a light tire that has good grip, but
can
yet
hold a heavy
has
car.
low rolling resistance,
Yes.
and can handle the heavier weight of EV. I mean, you're talking things that are really at odds with each other that you're trying to create here. It's like a marvel in engineering there.
Yeah, like the chief technical officer at Pirelli says, his name's Ian Koch. He says developing a tire specifically for electric vehicles requires a number of considerations you do not encounter when working with internal combustion engines, like all of those opposing goals. Because a strong
Right.
tire is usually a heavy tire, and so you got to deal with all that. So next thing we want to do is see if we can't find this tire for sale. Let's where'd it go? E0 all season elect. So I'll do a search on that real quick. Whoops. We'll do a search on that real quick and then see if I can find a place to buy it. So the Goodyear, I don't know if that one's on sale yet either, and I haven't seen the Michelin on sale. Dunlop makes one as well, but they're Goodyear, aren't they? Yeah. All right, so we've got it on the Pirelli site. I wonder if this is gonna be like printers. I got some of them tires you've been looking for. The thing about tires, though, is they are consumable. They have expiration dates, and they do have.
So a friend of mine has a
Find.
Model Y, and he
Yeah.
just had to. He had a nail in his tire, and it was like too close to the sidewall. He has to replace his tire. So he got he went and got a quote, and it's going to cost him about $350 for that tire. So they're expensive.
Yes, they are.
So I can't imagine how expensive these Pirellis are going to be. They're probably $800 tire or something.
I hope not that much. The closest I could find was their own announcement on their website. So, speaking of recalls, I got one on my Model X, allegedly. Let's see
You got a
here.
recall? How old is your X? And you got a recall?
I've had a couple so far. Some of
Yeah,
them
you would hope that any recalls happen early on.
right. So, some of them I've had to actually take the car in to get stuff done. Others, like, because they weren't, not say recalls, but bulletins. And then others have been just literally, I just get a software update in my driveway, and it takes care of itself.
I like the software update ones because it's like, oh, okay, it's already done. By the time you get the notice, it's already done.
Yep. So this one is NHTSA Safety Issue ID 22 Victor 169, and let's look and see what that is. Let's click on it and see what happens. Okay. So this one is initial delay in rear view image display. FMVS 111 is the statute that they're violating. A delayed rear view camera image reduces the driver's rear view, increasing the risk of a crash. Is this gonna be another one where they tell me to turn and look over my shoulder?
I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, I've driven a Tesla for a good distance, and I'm like, I'm still naturally looking.
Yep. So the potential number of units affected is 947.
That's interesting.
Yeah, out of a million cars, 947 of them might have this problem. So Tesla is recalling certain 2018 to 2019 Model S, Model X, and 2017 to 2020 Model 3 vehicles equipped with Autopilot Computer 2.5. So this isn't me anymore. My car was shipped with Autopilot 2.5. And operating certain firmware releases. The rear view image may not immediately display when the vehicle begins to reverse. I've seen that several times on several vehicles with MCU 1, MCU 2.5, and...
Can I say I've seen that on other vehicles that I've had in the past prior to Tesla?
Oh yeah. I've seen this on every car.
Okay.
I've seen this on my car with hardware 3. I'm wondering if maybe the delay is unacceptably long on these 947 cars, perhaps.
Maybe.
And see, this is another reason why you got to do your updates when they come through, because like I bet you that on some of these cars, like they've had the update icon just sitting there for a while.
Look at the remedy. It's a software update.
Yep, so let's get there. So it may not immediately display the camera when it comes up, according to standard 111, rear visibility. Tesla will perform an over-the-air update free of charge. The owner notification letters are expected to be mailed. See, this is the only part I don't like. Is if it's a software update and you got to mail these people, you should be able to email them, text them, call them, and then if you still can't reach them, then mail them a letter. Like, trying to save trees here, right? Owners may contact Tesla customer service at this number for the recall, which is SB that's Sierra Bravo -22-00-004. Owners may contact NTSB at hotline. So 8 affected products, S3X, and 3 documents. The remedy instructions in the TSB, recall acknowledgement, and the non-compliance notice. So let's take a look at this. What Tesla tells their technicians to do to fix this thing. Yep, this is a Tesla, all right. I've seen a couple of their bulletins before. This matches up. All right, so it's a recall bulletin, inspection service. Mobile service can perform where permitted. Not all of the mobile service techs are equipped to do firmware updates in your driveway. This is in North America and South Korea, and for cars built in Fremont. So inspect vehicle firmware, no update necessary, is going to be correction of that one with time of 0.05. You got to be quick on this, or you're not getting paid. Inspect and update firmware to correct time to display the video from rear view camera. So this is a timing issue, it sounds like, if you're going to correct the time to make it show it. So that would make sense. On the vehicle touchscreen, touch controls, software, scroll down to the vehicle display, the firmware section. If the vehicle is operating at version 2021.44.25 or later than 2021.44.25.2, no further action is necessary. So there you go. So you don't need to call them. If you're running an older firmware than 2021.44.25 or 25.2, just update your car. If it won't update, that's a whole other issue. And that's one thing that you can get the recall to get them to fix that for you, because the car's out of compliance. If the vehicle is operating with 2021.44.25 through 21.44.25.2, so if you're in between those two, then you need to update to 2021.44.30 or later. So,
okay, so
now we see why it only affects 1,000 cars.
What's interesting to me is that, you got 3 different models, the Model 3,
Yep.
the S, and the X.
Yep.
You got during certain time frames.
Yep.
And it's only affecting 947 cars, less than 1,000 cars.
Right.
Right. So I think that Tesla probably knows which cars have been updated and what hasn't been updated. And so that's why they're able to narrow it down and say this exact number of cars.
Yep.
And I would even go as far as saying some of those vehicles may not even be on the road anymore. Some of those vehicles may have been ones that were crashed.
That would explain why they're not updated.
And
yeah.
it would be the reason why they're not updated. Like, I bet you probably a large portion of those are probably cars that are no longer in service.
Right. Because that would explain, because nobody's going out to update their car after it's in the junkyard. I mean, there's probably somebody who might try it like me, like, oh, well, I'm here. Let me grab my stuff out of the car and hit update. But yeah, most people aren't going to be bothered with it. And let's see. Robert is having trouble with autocorrect. Say working on the roads, a few of them. And they're putting this low noise asphalt. Yes, that's another thing that could help with the road noise for everybody. They do have lower acoustic asphalt they're putting down, and concrete with. It's more expensive to do the concrete because concrete kind of wants to flow, and so they actually put like a groove pattern in it that helps reduce the noise level. Exhaust is going down the road 30 miles per hour. The pedal was saying they lower resistance about 36. Interesting. Joel asked, did we see that Tesla had a recall during the previous administration and 8 in the year with current? This is another good point. Yeah, there are a lot more recalls now than there were before. I
I wonder
don't
if
know if
that has
that's
anything to do with who's in charge of the NHT. Well, I don't know.
maybe. What was her name again?
Right. Her.
Oh, Washington Post is the one who noticed that. It's bad when the news notices it. Good point. All right, so then we've got some interesting news out of our friends at Rivian. As I mentioned a few weeks ago, I had a chance to take one out for a spin, and I enjoyed it. But they stand out as one of the few automakers that is outsourcing their electric motors, which is an interesting situation to be in because currently, unless you're a small automaker, they all want to make their engines and transmissions in house. Well, not even transmissions for some of them, but they definitely want to make the engines in house, be they electric engines or gas engines. And that's interesting. What one hopes to see from this is that it allows them to, one, get the motors faster so they can make the cars faster, and two, that perhaps insulates them from any sort of technology changes. But it also means that they are at the mercy of somebody else when it comes time to make their, like, unless they're going to design it and have somebody else build it. It puts them at the mercy of their supplier, and we see that happen with the existing automakers right now, where there's a part that should be made better and it's just not because nobody else makes it, and they don't want to pay to engineer it themselves and then contract manufacture it.
I think this is a case where they just I think I read the first comment. This I think it's just a case where they're
Well,
looking at they have to
they
ramp up
have a
faster.
point though. With the GM motors for the Bolt are actually LG motors. They're not GM motors. Like
He still
the Volt was
kill
a GM
yourself.
motor.
Just you pulled the Samsung. um
Sorry, I interrupted you. Continue.
Wait, the
oh
Bolt
no, I
motors
think
were
it's
LG as well, not just the
Yeah,
batteries?
batteries, motors, power electronics, and dashboard, all that were LG.
Interesting.
It might as well be called the
that's
LG Bolt.
that's
Exactly.
what I was saying. Jesus, they just threw the Chevrolet badge on it.
Right. The
I think
Chevrolet and the
it's
Opel badge. As Joel said, 75% of the Bolt is LG.
I think this is a neat
No joke.
feature.
It's
No joke.
great.
Yeah.
It helps them ramp up faster, especially with that bad news they had and them upping the prices at reckless random. If they can source
Yeah. That
these,
part.
if they can source them at a bulk sale price and keep their price range within the allowable limits, I think this is a good choice for them. It's also a good moment for their engineers to actually go back and be like, hey, we gave you some time, build these motors, and then take some of the motors that they've sourced and go like, hey, compared it to, give us a good one so we can keep pushing. So it might be a combination. I think it's a combination of we need this fast to keep our stockholders and our reservation holders at bay, and then we can catch up after that. So I think it's definitely something of that. It's not as bad as it would think, but I think they definitely need to use some of that Amazon influence money to get them cars on the actual road, because you just can't say we can't produce nothing and Amazon's one of your biggest clients. That's no.
Yeah, that doesn't work. That doesn't fly.
Yeah.
It,
So I'm pretty sure there's some influence. There's some influence from Amazon going on here. So I don't think they're going around out of Moser anytime soon. But I do believe this is one of those scenarios where
but
I would say
remember,
Tesla.
but remember, GM is going to be number one in EVs and EV sales. They're going to catch up and pass Tesla, and they're going to be number one. Remember that, because the CEO said so.
only if there's a dedicated fleet for the Bolt somewhere. Like dedicating your own charger, because that charger is nowhere else system that you're nowhere else to find. So I mean, yeah, I don't. This it makes sense if you consider all the factors that they have to actually do this. Their financial backers. I don't see no issues coming, because even if they do order all these motors, Amazon's going to make sure they get them. That's without a
Oh yeah,
doubt.
yeah.
Amazon's like number one in logistics behind the normal
Like behind the
postal
military.
service. Yeah, right.
They're like, when it comes to
I'm
logistics, you got
surprised,
like military, Amazon.
right? And then, however,
They know how
Starlink
to
got
move
their
stuff. They know how to
dishes
get
too.
stuff to different places.
Yeah, they didn't satisfy their own hub, so they didn't have to rely on nobody. So yeah, if Amazon looked at them side eye, was like, "Yo, what do you mean you can't make nothing?" And they were like, "No, but we need a motor." And they were like, "They said they can make motors for you." And we were like, "Okay, we can do it." Yeah, I think it's the moment where your investor was like, "Say what now?" So
Right.
this
We're
is
not
definitely
accepting
what
that
RJ
answer.
Scrimmage had to go. Yeah, RJ Scrimmage was like, I
Go
told you we need
outsource
this.
that.
Oh,
Oh, you can't
yeah,
do it? Go outsource that. Get
Right, and not
yeah,
only that, but we saw where Tesla's whole business plan initially was to outsource everything. Uh, it didn't work out the way they planned, so it's a matter of you got to do it right. There's nothing wrong with outsourcing, but there are certain things that you can do better than your suppliers can, and so
or at least
yeah.
cheaper, because when
Yeah.
you outsource everything, there's a cost associated with that. I mean, well, Nicola's
yeah, they
Nicola,
got
look
to
at
make a
Nicola.
profit too.
Nicola's whole business model was let's outsource everything, literally everything.
Everything.
That didn't work out. They had to rethink
And
that.
I'll say this from doing an actual drive with an executive that moved into Atlanta. They're actively designing their warehouses to hold the charging loads. So again, if you say you cannot build my van, I'm gonna make sure you can build my van. They've already started to retrofit their warehouses to handle the charging loads. So
Well, not only that, we've seen, like Robert Williams points out, that several of their vans aren't even Rivians. They're running Mercedes and Fiat vans as well. They don't care where it comes from.
yeah,
Amazon's got a business to run, and even though they've outsourced it, they're going to make sure that, because Amazon could build themselves a van if they wanted to. It's not in their core competency. There's no benefit for them to do it themselves, so they outsourced it. But what do? They've got a backup for the backup.
Right.
they're going
Exactly.
We believe in you in the upstart, but don't try us.
Right.
So yeah, and Ford can use the money to pump up those productions for those Lightnings and Mach-Es. So
Yep. Speaking of backups, well, it looks like the U.S. space companies are now poised to benefit from Russia cutting itself off from the global space industry. SpaceX is the clear winner in the launch market, exemplified by this morning's OneWeb deal. So OneWeb was launching on Russian rockets, or French rockets, which are Russian rockets, and so now they're gone to their competitor SpaceX to get them to do the launch services for them, because it's better than being stuck on the ground.
Let's go SpaceX.
you know who's not? You know who's not in this clear winner? Jeffrey.
I was about to say,
Jeff
yeah. Exactly.
Jeff B. Like, yeah.
Right.
So-
So Elon replied to this tweet and article saying that SpaceX's default plan was 65% of the global mass to orbit this year. Incremental demand might take that to 70%, so not a major change. Those numbers don't count the Starship. Rough math is 16 tons times 50 launches equals 800 tons. The rest of the world is less than 400 tons, and it's mostly China. So unlike China, they're not launching rockets on their villages. The first Starship orbital flight will be Raptor 2 engines, as they are much more capable and reliable. 230 tons or 500,000 pound thrust at sea level, rather than the original plan, which was to do the original Raptor. We'll have 39 flight-worthy engines built by next month, and then another month to integrate, so hopefully May for the orbital flight test. And then we just saw that now that I didn't even pull an article up for this, but the FAA has pushed back their approval for Boca Chica by another, for Starbase by another month.
So, wait a minute. I'm
Yeah?
confused on this. So I thought they already had a prototype that was going to be the first orbital flight, but now they're
It took
at
so long.
putting the newer engines in, so it looks like
Yeah.
they're going to have a different prototype that's going to be the first orbital flight. So
Right. It took so long to get the approval that they just moved on.
so the first prototype's not even. So that one's just going to.
Yeah. It's going to become a scrap.
Call it.
That They're just gonna take that, dismantle that, and just use that part for
Yep.
parts. Strip it down, I guess.
I mean, so somebody did ask him the question of if they're just going to put these new engines on the existing system, and he did not commit to that. So it sounds like they're just, like you said, going to scrap the first one and move on. So hopefully May for the orbital test. Evelyn says, will Starship SN20 and Booster 4 still conduct the orbital flight test or new prototypes? Elon answers, new.
See, okay, there you go. New prototype.
He did answer it. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Gonna...
Yeah, he did answer it later.
Wow.
So anyway, she sometimes has the weirdest responses to him. Any chance we'll see SN20 fly on its own to push the heat shield a little further on suborbital flights? That's a tune I could dance to. And I think he basically said no. No, he didn't answer that one. Yeah, so this is cool stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
I just think that he's almost not trying to, but almost monopolized the launches outside of Russia. Like, I think Boeing and Lockheed Martin and the rest of them are trying to catch up. And JB is like the one closest to catching up, but he's too busy sending stars into space or celebrities for publicity. Whereas like SpaceX is actually doing some good work, launching actual satellites into space for health, for help, and my favorite inspiration for a fundraiser. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely think this is a good thing. I could always use more rocket launches to watch my kids.
We need to launch big American broomstick.
Exactly. So Michael Sheets wrote, Russia is rapidly cutting itself off from much of the global industry, either on purpose or because we cut them off in response to what they did. Quilty Analytics sees U.S. companies as the net beneficiaries. SpaceX is the clear winner on the global launch marketplace. And
yes, they are.
OneWeb. Is OneWeb one word?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it is. There you go.
So already SpaceX's competitor OneWeb announced on Monday it will move launches of its internet satellites to Musk Company after terminating its launch agreement with Russia's Roscosmos. OneWeb says launches with SpaceX will start later this year. Go ahead, Dan.
The competitor of Starlink.
Yes, is launching on the same rocket as Starlink.
Like
it's great.
You can't even argue.
You can't even make this stuff up.
Monopolize their flags.
Right. Oh, they updated the article to include his response to them. Oh, this is the modern world we live in, that a news article can update to people talking about your news article.
And then redate back up.
Right.
Oh, that article we published is so old. It's so 5 minutes ago.
Right. So there'll be even more funny than this is if SpaceX is just handling all the constellations, if they then do the launches for Mr. Jeffrey Bezos. For his internet constellation. It's a possibility.
Talk about an accidental monopoly. Like, this is an accidental monopoly.
Well, I mean, if you're doing it better than anyone else, I mean, cheaper. He just recently had a Falcon 9 that flew for the 12th time. Who recovers rockets? Well, first of all, nobody's recovering rockets at all. But
that part.
The fact that he was able to fly the same thing for the 12th time, that's a huge economic win for them. You know, to be able to make money off of that, launching that thing over and over and over again. And he's proven the reliability as well.
And had a pretty decent turnaround, too.
And he's catching these things. And remember, he's not just recovering rockets. He's catching them on drone ships that are floating in the middle of an ocean. So you got a moving target that's literally, got waves and everything else. It's not even a stable target that he's landing this thing vertically on. It's
from orbital velocity.
It's just amazing.
Down to zero.
The crazy thing is they clap every time they cheer, and you have every right to.
It's amazing.
Another neat thing is every launch I've looked at in the comment section that was available, the coolest thing is to see is like somebody who's like they witnessed the old shuttle launches, they witnessed Apollo, and they're like, "This is awesome." And I'm like, "You are old in a good way. You're old." Like, I want to know. Like, I want to know when you get at that age and you can see it going back into the earth.
Dan
like, that's what I
apologizes
wanna
for calling
talk
any of our
about.
viewers old.
I'm not saying old. You're really seasoned. You're really seasoned. This is old in a good way. If you can
You'll be
see,
seasoned.
So what Dan's trying to say is there are people
I would
that
love
were
to
able to that have been able to live through the era
yes,
of seeing the first rockets launch, and when we were
yes.
first putting people on, trying to put people on the moon and whatnot, to seeing now, to be able to
In
see
this,
how far we've advanced to recovering the rockets to relaunch them, which is
Yep.
something that
yeah,
they
right.
couldn't even imagine back when they first started.
I didn't say
Exactly.
it as
And so Joel
eloquently as
brings
I
up a
could,
good point.
but
The Kuiper is launching with ULA right now, but it'd be cheaper for them to launch with SpaceX. There's also the side effect of having Jeffrey Bezos money is that there's only like maybe 8 engines left for this type of rocket that they need to launch the Kuiper. So if you were planning on launching with ULA and you needed those engines, we now have a bidding war for the final 8 engines. And also the rocket bodies. So the rocket bodies are built in Ukraine, and the engines are built in Russia. So once they run out of stock,
Problem.
right? Once they run out of stock, you get a problem.
So you got a supply problem on both ends.
Yes.
so again,
So they'll be
it's about
calling up
bringing
SpaceX.
all
Hey,
this.
I think you guys could sell us a couple rockets,
Yeah.
Right.
a couple engines.
So about this launch.
You know what? Forget it. Can you just, can we just hitch a ride with you guys?
Yeah, right. So yeah,
Yep. And so
pretty,
some comments on that was
yeah.
somebody pointed out it's not like they could have had another launch provider to choose from. ULA and Ariane Space are both booked. So yeah, so even if you could find a spot, you can't get the engines or the bodies. Blue Origin doesn't have a rocket yet, and ISRO doesn't have the cadence to support the launches. I'll be interested to see if they stay with stacks of 36 like Soyuz, or if they put some more satellites in there to take advantage of Falcon 9's increased payload capacity. They would be stupid not to, unless they didn't want to redesign their payload adapter. But I think they'll have to, because when you look at the fact that the American adapter to the space station is different than the Russian adapter to the space station on some level, there might already be some reengineering, so it would be foolish not to put the extra satellites in there and just reduce the number of launches you need to pay for it. I mean, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars each used, even more if you want to throw them away.
Yeah.
Robert Williams says 80 years young.
Hey, yeah.
All right. Man.
You've seen it all, man.
It's amazing how much has
Yeah.
transpired within a lifetime.
Exactly.
Yeah, and be like, holy cows! Watching those comments and conversating with those guys, gals, it's really cool to see because they'll just dump information at you, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
I read this in school books.
You know what's funny? So I was
What's that?
having a conversation with somebody younger than me, and I was talking to this particular young person about remembering the space shuttle Challenger back in '86 when that went up, and
That happened right before I was born.
the disaster that happened there and all that.
Yeah.
And she was saying that was something that she had learned about, that was like in the history books or whatever, that she, that's history for her. But for me, that was just lived experience. Like I saw it with my own eyes. And then she was talking about how, she was there. She actually went to the launch and was there with the later disaster of Space Shuttle Columbia, I think it was, in like 04 or something like that, 03, 04, whenever that was. And it's amazing, like she was at the same age when she saw that as the age that I was when I saw the Challenger. And
did they bring it into your classroom, or how did you see it?
So yeah, so with me,
the
Challenger, we all watched it because it was a big deal because a teacher was going up, right? So we all watched it in school and we all actually saw it. You know, her experience was different because her parents took her to go see a launch, and
right?
It happened to be the
and
one
then it didn't come back.
It happened to be the one that failed, right?
Yeah.
But
now here we are on SpaceX.
But still, it had a similar impact on us because of the age that we were, that we saw it.
Right.
And
And that
but it's
was
still it's very interesting how, you know, one person's lived experience becomes later on somebody
somebody's
else's
history.
history. You know, something that they
Yes.
read about in history. It's just amazing, just the cycle, how it goes and it continues. And
Right.
now I'm feeling old.
And that's kind of how 9/11 was for me. Like we were outside doing drills and marching practice. I think we were playing Pac-Man, which is where you march information and your drill commander tells you which way you're going to go so that you catch the ghost or whatever. But the colonel came out and he'd stopped us. He's like, "Hey, y'all come inside right now. We're going to look at the TV." And so the first tower had just been struck, and he's explaining to us how this was very similar to how the Empire State Building got struck a couple times. Clear day, no way it's an accident. It had to be negligence. He didn't suggest that it was on purpose because who does this on purpose? And as he's talking to us and explaining it to us, we see the second one hit behind him. Well, because once this first one happened, the 24-hour news, they just keep the thing on and it's just smoke and all that, and then he turns it off and sends us back outside.
Exactly where it was.
And that was a rough
I
day.
just reenlisted.
You did?
I
Oh
was just
man.
reenlisted. I was trying to do
Man.
my school out at the education center, and needless to say, I got left at the education center.
Right.
I had to
That
walk back to
that
my
was a
unit.
bad day.
It was
10
a bad
miles
day all
both
around.
ways.
Yeah.
It was rough.
I remember that very distinctly, very well. When I saw the second one hit, I knew right away. I said, "Oh no, we're under attack. This has to be. There's no way that's coincidence."
Right.
And the
As
crazy thing is, that's history for my daughter. Like, that's history.
Yeah, yeah.
right.
I'm gonna do the history project.
And Joel has a point. That's the reason that was on school on TV in school is because it was the first teacher to go up, and so it was a similar level of just shock and tragedy as what the colonel did to us. He didn't do it on purpose. He was like, hey, here's a lesson I can teach these because it was the Air Force, and so he's like, some of you guys are going to be pilots, so let's use this as a learning opportunity. And he didn't know it was showing us a live terrorist event on screen, just like your teachers didn't know that they were going to show you a national tragedy. There were people who
Right.
had to have therapy right after this happened, and it was super traumatic. I mean, in addition to the 7 people losing their lives,
It was a big deal. Yeah.
it's huge, and everybody's live.
But
It was, and like you said, it's
losing
some
that
people's
life,
history, and other people had it live.
It's a lived experience for some,
Yeah,
which
right?
then later becomes history for others.
yeah. Like we were talking in the
But
last
moving
election about how
forward,
some people are going to vote now, the first time to vote. They were born after 9/11. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
their world
yeah,
experience is completely different.
Right.
drastically.
Yeah,
It's definitely
I mean,
interesting.
we talked about
I'm just
that was talked about in the previous cycle when the people that it was the first time voting was when Donald Trump got elected, and they were talking about how those people don't have a memory of not having a, a black president, like
right,
their whole lived experience, like they, for them being very aware of politics or whatever was of because for 8 years, you
that's
know,
what was there. Yeah,
that's who was there, and it was just a very interesting dynamic. How how
yeah,
people's lived experiences are so vastly different. Oh, and
exactly.
over a
I'm
short period of
glad.
time. This is over, it doesn't relatively short period of time in history
Right,
that our lived experiences change so much. And now,
Definitely true.
looking forward, look at the lived experiences of the kids growing up with
right,
electric vehicles being an actual thing
exactly.
to by the time they start being of age to drive or whatever, it's going to be like more of a mainstream thing to see electric vehicles, much more mainstream, not just this niche, early on thing. And it's just like the progression is just going to be amazing, especially
Right,
with
Just the more.
self-driving vehicles and all that. It's just the AI is just going to be
Imagine the mainstream of catching a starship just going to another continent. Like, yeah, we're going to do a day trip or a weekend trip. And
right,
be like, I watched that start, or just to be able to ride in orbit for 3 days, like inspiration for like we were just talking about Challenger and Columbia. It's like that gap that it took to trust another uh flight system to do it, much less a commercial flight system to actually send live people into space. That's a big in less than 100 years, less than Robert Williams years. That's a big. That's a short window to gain the trust back again from the public and the government. So I find that super impressive. That I don't think many people get that.
Yeah. And speaking of people not knowing another way, Robert Williamson has an article of now these children will not have to know of a time where you had to figure out how to charge your electric car. Like right now, there's still a chance that you buy an electric car and you got to figure out how you're going to get electricity into the driveway or into your parking spot. Well, over in his area, they're now requiring by June any new housing needs to have electric car chargers installed, which is very much like we saw where Georgia was pointing out to us, where she was showing us that the multifamily housing needs to have conduit to not even the copper, just an empty tube to shove the wire into later when you have somebody who actually drives an EV. Because once you've already got the tubing there, it is so much easier to do an install than if you're tearing up
That
and
reduces the cost tremendously. Yes.
Yes. The effort, the cost. You don't have to evaluate whether somebody has snapped a steel supporting cable because it was built right the first time. Rebar or the pre-stressed cables. So so this article here is showing that the new law require all new buildings to have an electric vehicle charger, which is described now as a necessity, with less than 3 months before the new rule. That's good.
I think this is actually
I like it a lot.
helps.
The number of
Especially
parking
those
spaces with
short-range
access to an
commuters.
EV charger must be the total number of spaces of associated parking spaces where there are fewer associated parking spaces than dwellings combined in the residential building. So they need to have one electric charger per house, basically. That's incredible. Either one or all. I don't know if I'm reading it right. All makes sense because if all the cars are going to be electric in 10 years.
It looks like they need to have. Wait, is it one charger per parking space?
That's going to be expensive.
That's what it looks like.
Must total the number of associated parking spaces.
Then there are dwellings.
Where there are fewer associated parking spaces than there are dwellings. In other words, okay, so if there. Oh, that's interesting.
So at least one per house, as I'm reading it. House or apartment, condo, whatever. Flat.
I like it.
I like it too.
Because it's forward thinking. It's saying, hey, everybody's going to have an electric car in the future, so get ahead of it. Put in the charging infrastructure now for it, so then it's already there.
Because it can be pennies a square foot versus or pennies a foot, I should say, versus thousands per foot if you do it after the fact. Cable routes must be installed in any parking spaces that do not have an EV charge point, where a new residential building has more than 10 parking spaces, or where there are more parking spaces than dwellings. So this is saying that if you have 100 parking spaces but only 50 houses, you don't need to put 100 chargers in. You only got to put in 50 chargers, but you need to put in 50 conduits. I like it. I like it.
A lot. I think
This is the way.
Yes, this is the way.
This is one of those moments where you go, how can you not want an EV eventually? Because you can literally, for people that don't like to go to gas stations at night, particularly women, you can literally just park it at the house and go click, and then just know it's going to be charged in the morning. And this is with any car. So there's no saying I don't need a 50-mile commuter car, because if you have to leave your job or leave your thing for work, not only can you leave your car on club static leaving the house, but you could probably charge at your job while you're working the shift. So it's going to be a win-win.
Having the ability to charge either at home or at work is the best way to go for EV owners. It is a total game changer. If you can charge at work or at home, either one of those, it's the convenience factor is amazing. You never have to worry about public charging unless you're literally taking a long haul road trip. At that point, you're like on vacation or I guess some people travel for work, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
So I don't know if this was Robert William or if this was Dan, but we talked about this autonomous cargo ship when they were doing their test runs, but it looks like they're now approved to run. So this is an electric cargo ship that operates completely autonomously, which I find interesting in the concept of piracy.
That's what I
Like
was
literal
thinking.
literal piracy, like pirates on the seas.
Like somebody Jack Sparrow just come up and be like, "We're going to hijack this." Can you imagine a high tech pirate just hops up and goes and just takes over the ship?
I like the way he did the keyboard sound.
This is not the pirates you expect. They like hack and be like, "It's my ship now," and start ignore the messages. Like,
So you're saying the pirates are gonna have to be hackers?
Right.
right? Like
So
Cypher from the Fast series. Like,
Can you
I now
or can you imagine the current today pirates rolling up in their speedboat with their machine guns and they're like, wait, there's nobody on this ship.
yeah.
we have to go back
We
and
can't
get our
threaten
IT.
anybody with bullets. There's nobody on there.
Right.
Go back and get our IT guy.
So
Go back and get the hacker.
this vessel is 80 meters
Right.
long, or 262 feet. It's powered by a 6.8 megawatt hour battery pack and can carry 3,200 tons at a maximum speed of 15 knots, which is 28 kilometers or 17 miles per hour. Alongside the production of the ship itself, Yara is tapping into its own stocks of ammonia used in its fertilizer production to develop a zero-carbon fuel source. Oh wow! So it's not just transporting chemicals in ammonia; it's also running. They're making the electricity from ammonia, which is pretty cool.
This
Because
is dope. This reminds me of
carbon
So
free.
it's basically, wait a minute. They're
Because ammonia
making
is
the
carbon free.
electricity from ammonia. Or is it like a fuel cell vehicle then?
No. It's a battery on both ends of each of their ports. They're using some of their chemicals to make the power for the ship.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that way they're not burning coal or oil. It's carbon free.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
it's actually neat.
Renewable energy was our starting point in 1905. Wow, so they've been at it
Wow.
for over 100 years. Now, ammonia can bring us back to our roots. Yara Clean Ammonia, as the initiative is called, our large shipping network and existing infrastructure means that the ammonia has potential to become a leading fuel for long-distance shipping globally. So, yeah, everybody who keeps saying electric can't do this, it can't do that, it's powering all of the trains on the tracks today are electric. They're either diesel electric or pure electric. And the diesel only makes electricity for the electric motors. And all these trucks are coming out this year and next year. They got the Class 8 trucks. There's some of them already on the road and more of them coming soon. You've got these large ships. There's other than airplanes, which we have electric airplanes too, so they're not impossible. They're just hard. A hard problem to solve. And ships, there's no weight limit on ships. I mean, there is, but there's not a physical, like, if you engineer it right, there's nothing stopping you. The water will hold. So you just got to make sure it floats.
As long as it floats, you're good.
Right.
Yeah,
This is the way.
They can hold a lot of weight.
Yeah.
But did you see how huge that battery pack was? It was like megawatts.
Megawatt hours. That thing must take forever to charge. They probably charge it off with another battery. 6.8 megawatt hours. So that is
So they need a mega charger.
right. They need more than one mega charger.
That's
All right, so my battery is measured in kilowatt hours. This one's measured in megawatt hours. So it's 68 of my batteries when it was new.
flex. But yeah, this is
68 Model X packs. So let's see if we can play this and not have music. We can hope, but I think this is the same video we saw last time.
Yeah, but
with their test.
I like the fact that that's now being put to use. So they're going to actually start shipping stuff, which is great.
Yeah,
because that's you're saving pollution right there. I mean, you're running off of something clean.
You can keep the cost
I
down.
mean, I'm looking forward to seeing semi trucks, electric semi trucks, be wide and mainstream and prevalent. Because
load it off on the same boat with a charge.
Because like
here
here in the United States, we ship a lot of stuff by truck, and trucks they might be like 1% of the actual vehicles out there, but they're like 17% of the pollution off of vehicle pollution. So if we can get the semi trucks to be electric, you're going to have a huge, reduction in pollution there, just for the simple fact that these trucks are doing so many miles that they're putting out a lot of pollution.
Exactly. And then we've
It's
got.
crazy.
Go
Oh
ahead.
no, I'm real quick. I think it's crazy that Elon shifted the driver's seat to the dead center, because in theory you can take one truck, drive it onto this ship, get it charged while you're going, and then drive it off into another country. But because there's no left to seat right change, you're dead center. It can keep driving.
And
It's
with the matrix headlights, they can adjust the left and right lensing in
yeah,
software.
right.
When it sees the GPS change to left hand drive, it can change the
Yeah,
headlights to match. That's pretty smart.
it's wildly, and just to see that aspect, he's kind of future thinking with that truck. So that's impressive.
Yeah. So we got another one coming from Robert William about charging. So electric car chargers are needed on every street, says the connected curb. This charge point installer is installing a step-in charge rollout. So basically, you see, your left-hand drive over there. You bring your own cable, and you just jack it into this nearest post that's sitting there next to the street parking. That's smart. And so this report is calling for a rollout of publicly accessible charging ahead of the ban on the sale of petrol cars. Yeah, because it would really suck if we get to 2030 and you don't install any chargers and you live in an older house that doesn't fall under the requirement to have some charging because it's new. Yeah, you're gonna need a place to charge that's not on the road. Like the more options, the better, because
I mean, it
then you
makes
can
sense to
choose when
me.
and where. Yeah,
Cars spend the majority of their life
parked.
parked, just sitting.
Yep.
So if you can charge wherever it is that you're parked and the car is just sitting, then that's fantastic. You never have to wait on your car. Your car is always just going to be charged up.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me. I love the fact that and I wish we would do it here, but we haven't started doing it here in America yet. But I love the fact that I see in other in other countries that they've been putting charging stations in the light post and stuff like that. Anywhere that you have
Yeah,
electricity, you should be able to have a spot that you can plug your car in. It just makes
it,
sense.
Also, you
that's
don't have to
great. And
worry
the
about
wild
as
thing
many
is,
vandals if there's not just a cable hanging out, like when nobody's there.
Yeah,
mhm,
bring
they
your own
plug in the
cable.
light post all the time for every fare that you have, for everything that they block off a street for. They're powering off a light post, so you can use the light post. You can literally use it. And there's some
And
light
most
posts
and
that
most
have a
of the
little
light posts
windmill.
are high voltage
Great.
too. Very few of them are 120 or 220. A lot of them are like 600 volts.
Yeah.
So you
So
just
I
step it
mean,
down.
you just click. Oh, my car's charged faster than I go get something to eat. Like, and unplug it, come back out. Like it makes this is one of those leaps of faith that you'd be like, why didn't you do this anyways? Like they literally use a 110 to plug into the any light post to do power for major productions, for Hollywood, just anything else. It's wild, it's crazy.
So Robert Williams sent me the Citroen Ami again. We've talked about it on the show before, and I like how it's reversible. Like it's so reversible that the door on one side opens as a normal door, and the other side is a suicide door. Because every panel is the same on the other
It's the
side.
same, yeah.
The headlights and taillights are only differentiated by their color. Uh, but what caught my eye when looking at the site was that they have this off road Ami.
Okay.
They call
Imagine
it
getting
Discover
stuck in a
Buggy.
dead end, you turn yourself around. Like this was a tight spot and turn around and drive out of it.
Well, I mean, the car does have a directionality. It's the panels that are reversible. So you'd have to take it apart to do it in place. So let's take a look at this buggy real quick. Hopefully, it doesn't open a new window. No?
In the window.
Are they
No,
checking
it
where I
doesn't
live?
like you.
Let's refresh and try again.
It doesn't like you at all.
It might not. All right, so discover buggy. Well, I had planned to share the buggy with you, but oh well. So we can look at the regular Omni real quick. It's not really a neighborhood vehicle, but you can drive it at as low as 14 or 15 years old, depending on which European country you live in. I think it was France that you can do it at 14.
There's a picture of the doors open, which is what you were
Yeah,
just talking about.
both doors are open.
So
It's got a decent range. It's got a phone charger. I think it has speakers, but no radio. So you got to use your phone for the radio. It's the perfect little first car or city car, and I think was it CarWow or somebody did whole adventure of the day. They went to get food. They got a tree.
I mean,
And there's
actual
the
tree or a
off-road
tree
buggy.
tree?
What's that, Dan?
I said an actual tree or a tree tree?
It was a sapling, like you go plant in the
Oh,
garden.
okay. A real
Yeah.
tree.
It's 100% electric. It's exempt from the congestion charge. You can apply a wrap. Yeah. Didn't they show a wrap? That's a wrap, or yeah, those are wraps. I wonder if they put them up there after that question.
And they're compact. They're easy to park.
They're super compact. You can park them nose in, just like the old Smarts before Smarts started getting big. Yeah, it's a fun little car. All right, so we talked about Giga Berlin being open, and so we'll skip that. Let's stay on Tesla though while we're here.
The jig. Elon's jig of party.
That man's a bad dancer. There were more people talking about his dancing than about what it was they actually did, which is
Y'all
incredible.
do know that he dances like that because he had fusion surgery in his spine where he doesn't have the mobility, and like literally he had like his his vertebrae fused together,
Right.
and so he can't move like the rest of us. So I give him a little bit of a pass and say it's because of his his back
Injuries.
issues that he has had, because
But still,
he screwed himself up. You know how he did it though. He was literally fighting a sumo wrestler, and he literally slammed the guy. He was determined. He was not gonna not be able to take the guy down. So he did, but in doing so, he's completely screwed up his back. Then he had to go have surgery and everything else, and now it's fused together, and now he's not as mobile.
done by his own hubris.
Nobody's invincible, and also we should probably be careful why we make fun of people, because you never know. You cannot see all disabilities.
Right.
But he did
Two really
try
good
to
points
take
there.
down a sumo wrestler.
That was just not thinking.
He was determined. I tell you what, that man has determination.
Yeah.
If nothing else, he's very, very determined. He doesn't give up. He has determination in whatever it is that he does.
Yeah,
So,
I give him
well,
that.
while we were talking about Tesla and Giga Berlin, Hertz has added the Tesla Model Y to its fleet after the 100,000 Model 3s.
Yes.
They
It's incredible.
cannot keep those.
I like
in
Model
stock.
Y better than 3, so
Me too.
I'm happy to
The
see
the
it.
3 looks better. I'll give it that. It looks better, but the S looks better than the X. I would take a Model X every day over Model S if you give me a choice. Unless we're going on a racetrack. So last year, Hertz announced 100,000 Model 3s. That news sent the stock in a tizzy. And so now they're adding Model Ys as well. Previously only listed Model 3s, but now you can find on their website, you can pick a Model Y. 5 or 7 adults. I don't know that I would call that backseat adult size, especially if you're out on a trip. It might be good around town, but the Model X is about enough when you got a full luggage and try to fit adults in it. The Model Y is a little bit smaller. So up to 330 miles of range, 471 foot-pounds of torque. So they're ordering as base as they can get, even though they showed it with the Uber turbines and the performance brakes and the spoiler.
Yeah, we know they're not buying performance.
Whereas this one they showed accurately. They showed the standard range that you're actually getting.
Right.
Interesting. Maybe the intern that added the second car didn't know what they were doing.
Was right.
It's not clear whether the Ys will be part of the 100,000 EVs or if they're going to be a separate allocation.
I hope they're in addition to.
Me too. And on top of the vehicles they're adding to the rental fleet, they're reminding us that Hertz did a deal. Electric is reminding us that Hertz did a deal with Uber drivers for an additional 50,000 Model 3s to be offered to Uber drivers.
They can't stay in stock at all. I can tell you that from experience.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "You got one, you better get it now," and it's like.
And then Electric had a chance to drive the Nissan Ariya. Let's see a little sample of this.
Might want to mute out the music.
Probably
Hey, what's
so.
up? This is Mikey for
Okay,
Electric, and in this video, we're going to take a first drive in the Nissan Ariya. All right, so a little, and also they're describing the available immediately in the yard. Touch points like the faux leather steering wheel, a couple of belation is not going
I
to be
actually like it
available
better
for US, a grain of
when it's
salt.
not in gold.
Some of the stuff, but
Bronze.
for the city, it's an impact SUV or CUV or crossover segment.
Let's see what else we got here. He's driving and talking. All right, so let me give you guys a link to this if you want to see it later. Oh, wait. I want another screen. How do I do this? So it's called Electric, Driving the First Impressions of the Nissan Aria. Wait, I think I might have a way. I think I can put it in the private chat and then pull it out of the private chat and put it in the stream chat. So maybe I need to figure out how to do this. I might need to figure out how to do this sooner than I intended. There we go. Joel's asking, do we know how many Ys they got? We don't, but we're hoping that it's in addition to the 100,000, so maybe 10,000, 20,000, something.
It has to be more than 50,000 because they're giving those away to the rideshare drivers. So, and fun fact, those don't come out of the profits. They have to pay Hertz weekly. Doesn't matter if they rideshare or not. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Eddie met one Hertz renting couple that knew nothing about the charging, which I find to be amazing considering all the different like QR codes and websites and little posted cards telling you how to do everything when you get the car. Like, how did you get it driving? Like, did you suffer through figuring out how to get it driving and then just like look at nothing else? Or is it the physical, like the handle seems straightforward to me, but again, like we were talking with Sergio, is it a matter of I've been charging electric cars so long that I'm not thinking like how could this be made better?
Well, I mean, they could have been at a non-Tesla charger station trying to figure it out.
Trying to get the station to unlock. Okay, yeah, like, that is harder to do.
How does this work? And you need to use an adapter. And then, if you're at a DC fast charger that's non-Tesla now, you can't use that with the Tesla because Hertz is not including a CHAdeMO adapter, right? So, and
even worse is
things when it comes to charging that we take for granted that we already know that somebody else may not know.
Yeah, even worse is if it's new and they did have a station that has the CHAdeMO chain to the station. My understanding is the CCS-equipped cars cannot CHAdeMO charge. Like, it's just physically can't communicate anymore with the old stations.
What?
That's my understanding. At least the ones in Europe that get the... Oh, yeah, well, it doesn't even work on a CCS, so that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's like when you get to a supercharger and you see a VW pull up here in the States where they've got the proprietary Tesla plug.
Yeah, it's like, no, you need to go to the Tesla charger for that.
Right.
Which is interesting because there's more Tesla superchargers.
They're in the map. Hertz tells you to use the search.
Yeah, and they're right on the screen in the Tesla. They right on the map. It's like, how did you find the other charger to begin with instead of that one? Instead of using the one the car would suggest. I guess maybe they just saw one and said, "Oh, let's just pull up here. It says electric car charging.
Let's go these electric cars. It says free."
Even the Hertz people, when they first got the news, well, they saw it on the news before it got released at the actual rental.
They had a tweeter experience.
Yes, they just saw it on the news. They were like, "We don't know how yet," because of course, charging. They know they ain't got the charging at the station to rent it out, and they weren't too sure if there was an accident, the torque vectoring, all that stuff, because their technicians were ready. Like once they figured it out, they were ready. They were adjusting already. But the actual site manager was like, "What was Hertz thinking? We just found out the same time everybody else did." So
here's the thing: if you work at a place, subscribe to the place's Twitter and the boss's Twitter, just in case. You'll learn so much.
As we now know.
Yes. So let's go back to space. NASA selected SpaceX for an additional mission to the moon with astronauts as part of the Artemis program, which is incredible. So let's read in on this.
Diversity, my portfolio, which is 100% Tesla.
Please IPO. I did the thing where I didn't save the extra replies again. Sorry, guys. So let's see if I can get them from NASA. I cannot. All right, so let's just go and look at their press release. And it didn't open the same window, of course, because that would be too easy. Close, paste. There we go.
Crazy thing in our previous Friday events when my cousin was on talking with our friend Sergio,
Yeah.
one of his projects is going up on the Artemis mission too.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
So, under this new approach, NASA's asking American companies to propose lander concepts. You know what? I wonder if if I did do the right thing. I did not. There was another link right after that one that was a Twitter link, and I was hoping it was the explanation of why I picked the article. Like, because you know that space guy that goes in and explains everything. I usually have him up there. So basically, they get another mission, which is incredible because it also comes with funding for another mission. For more information
And it's
about
not
this,
like
go here.
again, you can't argue with them for being like, oh, they're just awarding all the contracts to freaking SpaceX. No, SpaceX has proven we can do
Right,
this cheaper for you. more
right, and they weren't the
efficiently.
only ones to get an extension, but theirs is the only one that you can really think of that's going to do any immediate effect.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
you can literally say we want to be on the moon within a week, and SpaceX would be like, hold my beer.
Well, I don't know about a
We
week, but
might.
they would certainly be able to do some stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
So let's
it's
go
kind of
here.
impressive. I think it's quite neat that they're able to pull that off.
Yeah. So the Tesla battery supplier LG Energy Solutions has announced a $1.4 billion battery factory in Arizona. And Musk keeps saying, just wherever you can get wherever you can get batteries that they meet their standards, they'll buy them all. So LG is taking them up on that.
They need all the batteries they can get. So they said,
Yeah.
hey, we'll buy all of them, and we're also making our own.
Yep.
If
The
you
Arizona
build it,
plant will be
it will
LG's
come.
first ever U.S. factory to make cylindrical cell vehicles. Who else uses cylindrical vehicle cells? You've got Tesla and Rivian. That's it. Well, not all. That's not it. But those are the big ones.
And Lucid.
Yeah, Lucid too. 2170s. You're right.
This is
They
great.
they just reduced their output.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rivian needs this. Rivian needs this badly. Especially in the Georgia area, they're gonna need this, but SK's up the street, so yeah.
Yeah, but
they definitely.
they make prismatic and pouch. They don't make cylindrical. So Musk confirmed no new launches in 2022. And when did they say this thing's coming online? They're breaking ground in Q2, so next quarter. Expect to be at capacity 2024 for 11 gigawatt hours of cells. Woo! That'll make a dent in the supply. That's good. This is one I wanted to catch while Sergio was on, but I didn't have them in order because I was busy trying to get get everything situated in the first place. Electrify America has unveiled a new charging station with better displays, cable management, solar, and more amenities. Anything to improve the experience is always welcome in our book as EV drivers. So they've unveiled a new charging station concept today that includes updates to the actual chargers with better displays and cable management, as well as updates to the stations themselves with solar canopies and more amenities. So they've got 731 locations with 3,000 fast points. So they're a really good number 2 in America. And let's see. The actual charger got an upgraded screen that'll be easier to see in different lights and a better cable management system. Yeah, because having them drag on the ground or get tangled up is never a good experience. Bigger changes to the stations themselves. They want to reinvent the look and feel of many of our charging stations. Yeah, because when you're driving a Porsche and you show up to Walmart in the middle of the night, that's not a Porsche level experience. I'm just saying. Nothing wrong with Walmart and nothing wrong with driving a Porsche, but
Very true.
it's generally not what you're looking forward to when you spend over $100,000 on a car. It just is.
True.
Yeah. So let's see. They're going to showcase new features in 2022 and 2023. So we'll start seeing them this year. They're going to have customer lounges, which is good. Overhead solar canopies, which will help keep you out of the sun and help reduce the cost for them. And you know that you're getting green energy in the car at some level. On-site cameras and security, that's good. They need that at all stations.
Yeah, I'm surprised
And
Tesla isn't doing that already. Having
besides that one little mobile
cameras
site.
on site.
Yeah. And charging located at select shopping locations to offer valet charging and curbside options. I never valet my car, so as long as it's not valet required, I'll be fine with that, because it's nice to have the option. And then hopefully it comes with training, because they're going to need to keep track of a bunch of different cars. Like, does this one have an automated charge port door? Does it have a manual charge port door? How do the controls work? Because valeting isn't hard per se, but to do it well is more difficult. And especially if you've got a
Especially
particular,
with all different cars making their
all
stuff
different
all
cars.
different. You know,
And most of them are going to be powerful, so you got a lot of folks that already don't want to give up their keys to.
and well, what's crazy is there's so we still don't have a standard, right?
That too.
With electric vehicles, as far as like
Where the door
charge
is.
port placement, where
Yes.
where the charge port is, nor do we have a standard with how the charge port opens. So, like, with gas vehicles, it's pretty straightforward. They all pretty
Yes.
much open the same. There's either a button inside or near the door that pops it open, or when the car is unlocked, you can just pop it open, and then the nozzle hole, they're all completely the same. They're all standard. So it's not like, oh, this nozzle doesn't fit my car because I need the bigger or I need the smaller one or whatever. They're all the same. So, we still have a little ways to go there.
Yeah. Robert's asking if we remember good old Lucky Gold Star. Yes, indeed. Yeah, most of my electronics are either LG or Samsung. A little smattering of Apple thrown in there because I'm weird. I don't want to be succumb to the wall garden. But they make some solid hardware, so it's like, it's a tough choice.
I used to have HTC back in the day.
Oh, I love them. What became of them? Somebody bought them, right?
I don't remember exactly what happened.
I'll look that up later. It'd be funny if they became an EV company. All right, so while we're speaking of batteries, Cattle has announced they have a new zero carbon battery plant in China, and it looks to achieve global carbon neutrality. Because it's not enough to just help the EV revolution, to help people bring down their emissions. If you can do it at the source while you're making the product that helps people come down to zero on their own, it's even better. So let's see what they have to say for themselves. They're going green, or at least starting to. They announced a zero carbon plant in Yibin, in Sichuan province. Sichuan. Of China. While the details are scarce, we can expect them to have a more following presentation on Friday. Hey, that happened already. So right now, Cattle is supplying like everybody. They got NIO, Tesla, and everybody else. They're primarily lithium iron phosphate batteries, but they also make other varieties of lithium batteries as well. And in order to make a successful run at electric cars, you need a way to hold that energy. And so that means you need more batteries.
Yep.
What does zero squared mean? Or is it zero carbon monoxide with the second footnote of the article? No, CO squared is CO2. Carbon 1 molecule, oxygen 2 molecules, CO2. Surely you've heard of it. It's just that the formula for carbon dioxide is not written the way in the picture. So they probably use a superscript or subscript where they shouldn't have. I don't feel like scrolling up to check. It sounds a little pedantic. We know what they meant. I said what I said. All right, so while we're talking about, whoops, wrong screen, stand by. While we're talking about SpaceX winning extra stuff with NASA, let's take a look here at Reddit. There it is. So NASA has ordered. There it is. Six additional space station resupply missions from Dragon SpaceX. Dragon will continue to deliver critical cargo and supplies to and from the orbiting lab through 2026. Not bad. I signed into Reddit already. Why is it trying to get me signed in again? That's not even the right address. So let's copy this and paste it in. But first, let's see what some people have to say. NASA release. Would this imply that Northrop has a plan to use different engines after Russia blew up the Yashmish factory, or do they have that many in reserve? Very good question. Cygnus is because Northrop Grumman's Cygnus also got more resupply missions while SpaceX did as well. Yay, CRS. No, probably about it. The CRS contract included NASA paying roughly half of the development cost of the Falcon 9. SpaceX probably wouldn't even exist without CRS. Remember, they were completely out of money after Falcon 1's first successful flight. This is true.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe an expected contract, but a big one nonetheless. Seeing Cargo Dragon flying all the way to CRS 35, that is really cool. Probably just as interesting as Cygnus contract is for 6 more missions as well. But that's the same thing Elon is pushing for. He doesn't want one contractor to get everything. He wants there to be competition. Helps keep the price down and gives you a reason to do better. And that's good to see them do it. It'll be interesting to see what vehicle they choose, considering Nhtsa's suppliers are going to be interrupted for the foreseeable future. Possibly they switch to Falcon 9, or for some, since the Atlas V is all booked, and Vulcan's readiness is unclear. Unlike Falcon or even Vulcan, all the work for launching Cygnus on Atlas has been done. Maybe Northrop Grumman, ULA, and Amazon can negotiate a deal for Amazon to switch some of its Atlas launches to Vulcan. Amazon seems to be even slower at rolling out Kuiper than Blue Origin is at making engines. so it shouldn't be too big of an inconvenience. Ouch, sick burn. So that's another possibility. Is even though Amazon has bought space, maybe they give it up to Northrop so they can actually complete their mission. I don't see Jeff being the sharing type. The link is gone. Stand by. While I'm in there. It's already signed me in. What the heck? So it knew I was signed in. And the tweet is back. Stupid
Okay.
machine. The machine is just playing with me. All right, so let's see. Does it load this time before we bother sharing it? Good. Share. Allow. All right, so NASA's ordered 6 additional missions. NASA selected SpaceX for additional moon mission. So they're just winning contracts left and right, and this was all after the 12th launch of that booster launch and landing. So let's see what the comments were on this one. Did I say congratulations, SpaceX team? I love NASA, which used to be Elon's password. Congratulations, SpaceX, y'all are incredible. FSD beta Canada tonight or tomorrow. 2 weeks. I hope it's tomorrow. I'm on an old version, but I think it's next week. I don't think it's this week. We'll see. All right. So again, I've missed out. Like Twitter doesn't think I care about the technical people who explain all this stuff that do a good job. So I need to remember to start saving them more often, like directly to the explanations of the experts. Let's see. Robert has a point. Diesel and petrol nozzles are different sizes. They did that to try and stop people putting the wrong one in there. It didn't work.
No, it didn't. People still screw that up.
But at least if they're a little bit smarter, they'll stop and think twice. Yeah, LG still making TVs. I got one over there. The one behind me is a Samsung, but I got an LG TV. I often have an LG washing machine.
No, LG's still around, but I'm wondering about HTC. I think that was the one.
Oh, is HTC making TVs?
So
That's a good
they
question.
could be. I don't know.
All right, I'm gonna look that up now. All right, let's see. Well, first let's talk about this one, and then we'll look up. What happened to HTC. So, dozens of Hyundai and Kia EVs are coming by 2030, including pickups. So we saw Kia had a really ugly pickup truck concept, but that was being used as a placeholder, sharing that Kia was going to be having a pickup coming soon. So it looks like that they're pulling a GM and just making the same vehicle with new skins and new interiors and names several times over. So like you got the Ioniq 5, EV6, and GV60. They're all the same vehicle essentially. Then you've got this SUV, which would be the Telluride on the Kia side, and I don't know what they're going to call it on the Hyundai side.
Palisade, I think.
Probably, if the Palisade goes EV, they might make a new name for it.
Yeah.
And then Genesis probably needs an SUV. There you go. But like I say, electrify all the things. 11 new models by 2030. That's a couple a year. Also, like I said, 6 years to make a car. It sounds like they just started. Because the other thing that might be the case, though, not necessarily that they just started, but launching a new model, like all new model, it does take a lot of resources. So if you just spit out a bunch of new models, then you have to support them. So pacing them when you're a smaller company is still important. So it might not be that they can't make them fast enough or design them. It might be that they don't want to overwhelm the dealerships and their own staff.
Oh, so there you go. So Genesis is going to get 6 new models, including 2 passenger cars and 4 SUVs.
There you go. And Kia will sell 14 EVs by 2027. Interesting that the Kia is getting more of them than the rest of the brands.
That is interesting.
Or if they're just going to be variants of whatever they all come up with. That's attractive, man.
That's a nice looking
that'd be fun.
concept. But again, that's a concept car. So let's not get too excited.
Yeah.
But if
Hopefully
it looks even close to that, it would be
right.
great.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Right, Eddie.
But I mean, even if it's close to that, it'd be great.
Right. Yeah, because we know the Telluride is going to look something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they got the Kona, the Telluride, the EV6, the EV, yeah. It's good that they're looking forward and they're saying, okay, we're gonna have all different types of models and stuff. Okay, Taiwanese company and looks like they're
July 31st of 2021. When is this article from? 2017. So they sold themselves to Google in 2017. And let's see what happened in 2021 with them.
they're making laptops or something.
Really?
I think they're making Chromebooks.
Very lucrative business. Well, actually, it is if you can get them to like a school and get a contract.
No, I'm just guessing.
Oh.
I think they do make computers though.
Yeah, I had a couple of actual HTCs and a bunch of HTC rebrands because their big thing was selling to the phone companies, put their name on it, and make their own little like.
Well, they were making smartphones. That was their big thing.
Yeah. Well, PDAs too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had that one, the HTC 7.
Oh wait, they are making laptops.
Release smartphones every now and then, like the HTC Exodus. Really? They're doing well, just not in smartphone industry. Oh, that's right. They do make the VR goggles.
Oh yeah.
Show the Android has legs. Was the last
So they
HTC
haven't
smartphone
gone
used?
away, which is cool.
Yeah, that was my real
It's
question.
good
So
because
are they still around?
they made some pretty good hardware. It's just
They do. They do. So last week, well, before we get there, let's see what the comments are before I miss it. Have you seen the EV9? I think that's the one we were talking about, the Telluride, the SUV, right, Joel? Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it looks a lot like a nice like the Telluride. So you're right though. They might not actually call it Telluride. They're probably going to call it the EV9. Just leave it there since they've been calling all their stuff EV whatever and just leaving it. It's a good way to separate themselves from the gas ones too.
yeah. Give it a different name.
Eddie says
Based
at
on
least it ain't got that SUV look. Right, but how many two-door sports cars do we sell these days?
right.
At
You
the
got
same
to
time, though, when you look at the Mustang, how many two-door? Well, it's a four-door car, but how many two-door SUV sports cars do we have? There was that Nissan, the Murano convertible.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, it wasn't very attractive. All right,
They're
so
gonna
as I was
sell.
saying, go ahead.
They're gonna get rented on Turo.
Careful renting your cars on Turo, as we saw.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah, Dukes a hazard.
Right.
So, I take issue with the way that this one's worded, but it does bring up a point. Tesla removes strange full self-driving loophole that shortened the wait time for vehicles. So, as I've said before, Tesla will, in the past, has typically just moved you up if you gave them more money. And yes, the performance cars and the cars with more options cost them more to build, but the amount they were charging allowed them to make more profit off of you quicker if you would buy the fully loaded cars. And so the argument that full self-driving is just software, I don't really take much stock in that argument because that was allowing them pure profit. Because whether you buy the software or not, it's all the stuff's already in the car, so that just makes their profit level 100% over the car that doesn't happen. Rather than like the performance car versus the non-performance car, it's like, all right, so we've spent this much more on thicker axles, this much more on a bigger motor, beefier battery, better fuse, blah blah blah. It's like, oh, they bought the software, this is free, boom. So they're not doing it anymore. Is the gist of it all, which is more fair, but
Yeah, so there was a loophole. So like people what they figured out were they would order the full self-driving so they can get moved up in the timeline, get their car quicker. But right before taking delivery, they would remove the full self-driving, but they would still already keep the
oh,
spot in line and still get their car. So
that's dirty.
they totally removed that loophole so where people couldn't do that. So then
Okay, yeah.
they were still prioritizing people that ordered full self-driving. But
Yeah.
now they even changed that and said,
Right.
okay, we're not even going to do that anymore because now it became too much of a business where people would order these cars so that they can get them quicker and then they can turn around and resell them and get profit. And you know, too much of that nonsense was going on, which wasn't fair to just your regular average person who just wants
Right.
the car. So now they're stopping that and they're just kind of trying to make it more fair on
Yeah.
you know the wait times for people getting their cars.
Yeah,
Which
it's fair and consistent if they if they bought the car and it still had FSD on it, but if they're cheating and removing it at the last second, that's abusing the goodwill of the people who you just cut in line. That's abusing the goodwill of the company as well.
right, and they that so that was the loophole that they initially removed.
Okay,
They
and then they
removed,
stopped altogether.
and then they just stopped altogether. So they had a couple different changes that they've done. I think with now Giga Berlin is online, and then with the Texas factory going online, I think a lot of those wait times are going to get a lot less, and it's going to be a much more reasonable amount of time because with all this extra production being going on, it's going to help with that a lot. It's going to alleviate a lot of that wait time.
Yeah, and I think the reason we're not seeing the numbers jump up yet is they're trying not to count their chickens before they hatch. Because if you built a factory that can make 500,000 cars, two factories that can make 500,000 cars a year, but then the rollout takes just as long as the original Model 3 rollout, you're gonna have a lot of people whose cars are like really really late, and Tesla already isn't that great at managing customer expectations. So it's best not to step in that cow field. So
Right.
what you'll probably see is hey, your car's gonna be ready next year. Hey, I hope you got your down payment ready. It's coming tomorrow.
Do you want to take it tomorrow? You're right.
Right. Oh, if you don't take it tomorrow, we're gonna give it to somebody else.
Okay, surprise. Here it is.
Right.
Oh, it's
Right.
ready.
Omar can tell you firsthand about that rigmarole.
Yeah.
That was quick.
Yeah, I've had some
Yeah.
experience with that.
Yes. So then, our friend Kyle, his dad, had an experience with his Hyundai Ioniq 5. And that's over at Out of Spec Reviews. He's got a couple Out of Spec channels. I had to see which one it was on. Where Dad came out and...
Spec Reviews is brought to you by Magna. More on that later.
Good morning and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews, where I find myself getting energized to go out for a jog this morning. And I decided that I wanted to get in my car and go to a certain spot that I like to run in. And I come out to my car and it's completely dead. Is this the Nemesis 12-volt battery issue that I've been reading about?
Yes, but this brings up a point. Like, we've been working on cars for over 100 years, and we still have problems with the regular basic electrical system. Tesla is eating 12-volt batteries like candy when they're running on lead. BMWs are catching fire all over Asia and Oceania, and it's like, why can't we get lead batteries right?
Why are we still using lead?
Why are we still using lead batteries? Yes.
Like why can't we just get rid of that and use a different? We have better battery technology out there now. Why not use the better tech?
Exactly. And so Tesla has switched their new cars over to lithium starter batteries, the 12-volt system, which is actually 16 volts in Tesla's case. And down below in the description, you can see what I did. I went with the OMU lithium battery, and so they accepted my application, and you can now, if you order using my referral link, I also have a coupon code down there, it's just Casey Green, my name spelled out, and then I think the referral link was actually I can check it, was just my name, first name, but either way, you can just click it down below and get yourself a lithium starter battery to replace your lead battery. So what he does is, later on in the video, he's able to use a jump box. He's got a link to his jump box down below in his video, if you want to know a good jump box. Down there somewhere. And it doesn't need to charge or anything. Like, literally, as soon as he connects the jump box and then powers the car on, the car's like, oh shoot, my battery is dead. And then it starts charging the 12-volt battery. So it's not a matter of it just being hard on it and killing them or anything. It's just forgetting to charge it. And so then he goes through and he explains what he has plugged in, what's not plugged in, and he shows us that everything that he has plugged in is on switched power, which means that when you turn the car off, all these things should be turning off, right? And so my point was, like, why can't we get basic electrical right? Like, HV is a lot easier to get right, because if you lose track of what your lithium battery is doing, it could be a mess. So they all get that right the first time, assuming that they manufacture it right, LG. And so I just wanted to have a discussion about why we're still doing this. Like, again, like we talked about with Sergio, we're doing stuff the same way we always have done it, without even looking up and seeing if there's another way. That's how it feels to me.
Because we've always done it that way. Well, that's not
the way my daddy did it, and it worked.
Reason. It's like, just because we've always done it that way doesn't mean that that's still the best way to do it. It's
right.
We, like I said, we have the technology now. We have better battery tech. We should be using the better technology.
Yes, especially when they're like so close in price. Like my OMU battery and filter, they cost just $9 more with shipping and taxes than Tesla quoted me, with shipping, taxes, and installation. So the only difference was I had to install it myself. But they do offer installation services, and as long as you're not going to some place that requires you to use OEM parts. Like, you can take it to a stereo shop. You can take it to any regular shop that doesn't say Tesla on the front, and they'll pop it in there for you. So we can do better, and we should be doing better, especially if it's not like, I understand if it costs twice as much. That makes a difference. But
and I'm glad Tesla finally figured it out and started using the lithium iron batteries because the placement of those batteries, like you have to take the whole frunk out in order to place your battery. It's just like if you have to do all that, let's just put a battery in there that you're not going to have to replace. It's going to last just as long as the battery pack in the car, and now you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. I'm pulling up a couple of articles that Dan bought us on this computer. I can hear the water pump going crazy. It's mad at me. What are you doing to me? All these tabs. The other one is darn silent. One article that Dan sent us was a Model X Plaid whooping a Lamborghini Huracan. That one's coming from Brooks at Drag Times. That's amazing to see a 6,000-pound SUV just walking away from a two-door sports car.
I think I sent that one, but yeah, that's
Oh, that one's
awesome,
you?
That's an awesome video of
Yeah, that one was
nice,
you. Dan
big,
sent us the
family-size SUV
yeah.
whipping on a Lamborghini, a specific little two-door sports car that's made for speed, and it getting whipped by a big old family-size SUV is
This is
awesome.
one of those instances where if you have it, your kids are constantly egging you on at every stoplight, and you're like, "No," and they're like, "We can do it."
Yep. It's so hard not to hit that pedal sometimes.
Yeah, but look, it could be your daily driver, family car, and then you can also take it to the track and have fun with it too. And it's the same car. You don't have to have two different vehicles for those two different things.
Exactly.
But honey, look, we can take it to the track. Please.
Do you have going to track money?
I'm not a guess. I'm saving. Look, babe, give me this.
Yeah. So it was Omar that shared us the Plaid whooping on the Plaid X whooping on cars, and it was Dan who shared us the super souped up Civic whooping on a P85D.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
They sunk a lot of money into that Civic though.
That part, and they probably had to rebuild the engine every other weekend.
And meanwhile, you got a stock P85D. It's like, okay, first of all, that's an older.
And it kept up too, despite being old and stock.
Right, it's an older Tesla and it's stock. And guess what? That older Tesla is still just as fast as it was when it was new. Whereas
it might be a couple cents off, yeah.
But that souped up Civic that they dumped all that money into, they're gonna have to keep dumping a bunch of money into it if they want to keep that thing fast like it is.
And they probably can't daily driver it.
No.
Here's the crazy thing.
Not if they want it to last.
The people that get nitpicky in their feelings, what they don't realize, the guys who are drag racing this are having the most amount of fun just doing it. Like they're throwing in different variables just for booze and giggles because they love to do it. They want to see which car can beat which car. So showing that last one with the Civic, they were like, yeah, but this is your Civic that can beat this car.
So Dan, why did you send us this article?
Because it's Elon, Ukraine.
I'm saying I didn't read it, so it's your turn.
Oh no, okay. So the funny part is, I'm sorry. I was like, I assumed you read it. No,
don't have time to read them all.
He's discussing with I forgot the guy here about the ability
of Matthias.
Yes.
Opener. Okay,
yeah,
so what happened here?
They were talking about various other items and everything else, but the key thing I picked up is that he sees the need for the nuclear power still for everything else. And I'm trying to figure out why Benjamin Franklin is to be the most fun at dinner. I'm assuming because of the electricity boat thing, but he has a weird eccentric of things to do. It's one of those definite things that he's interviewing some other people.
I think Elon might think that Benjamin Franklin would be fun at dinner because the way Benjamin Franklin would think, and I think him and Elon might have been on similar wavelengths as far as
maybe so. Especially when you've only got 4 people to choose from. You've got Einstein, Jobs, Franklin, and Da Vinci. So.
Oh, out of those 4, okay.
Out of those 4, he's the most interesting to have at dinner. So the headline didn't lie, but it did take the headline. It did come out of context.
Yeah, a lot. But it was just it's one of those moments where
I'm
I
pretty
see,
different. So yeah, like you said, he probably thinks they'll be on the same wavelength too.
yep, it's one
Yeah.
of those moments where he actually has that conversation. He's having a conversation with similar minds, and they actually had to interview him. It was a really interesting
Well,
thing
I
for
think
him to speak
Elon's
to.
more of a cross between like Steve Jobs and Benjamin Franklin, because he has the engineering mind and the thinking prowess of Benjamin Franklin, of thinking differently outside the box and looking at stuff that other people are not, and trying to discover new ways and new things. But then at the same time, he's a visionary. Like Steve Jobs was a visionary and had that vision of, I want to create this and I want to make this. I want to do that. Steve Jobs wasn't actually creating all of that stuff himself, especially in the later years, but he did have vision, which I think Elon does have a lot of vision. He is a visionary, but he's also hands-on as well. He's a hands-on engineer.
Yeah. Oh, Robert, sorry to hear about that computer. Yeah, sometimes the shops, they try what they think is the best, and it's not always the right answer. Sometimes it makes things worse. And Dan, you were coming in about you brought up Georgia and Rivian again as far as the bill blocking the sale there again.
Yes, it's weird. So yeah, blocking the sale, uh, wonderful piece. I don't know if we went over the last one with a Representative Holly of the district I have now. They bought the electric buses, the commuter buses. I haven't figured out what they charge yet. I'm gonna find that out. But they actually purchased them, and I was like, why is they blocking? I had another question earlier. He was like, oh, it's a re-election bid. I was like, seriously, you're just allowing them in for a re-election bid? Like you're appeasing the green holder people? Like, yeah, I'm gonna re-vote for him because he allowed Rivian in, but he basically said, hey, if you want them to sell their trucks here and their plan is coming here, then call them and tell them to follow through on what you're doing. It was a really neat thing to actually Representative Holly, I'm communicating one on one with Facebook on post, and he follows up with things. But he's literally saying, "This is what straight up." He's not slandering anything. He's like, "This is why he did it. He did it so that when he goes up for a re-election, I'm bringing jobs to the, I'm bringing jobs to the state. Here it is, doing these rural towns." And he was like, "If there's an issue with them moving the vehicles, then call them." So it was a really it's one of those pieces where I like to interact with people, but it was neat that he was like he gave some insight on that
Yeah.
of why it actually happened. That one I actually enjoyed on that one.
I also saw where he addressed you. You talked to him about the taxes, and he addressed that it was
Yeah,
a
that
little out
one
of
too.
whack.
Yeah, that one too. That was my initial response from him because I was like,
I
"Yo,
also like that he used your language. You like to call it no gas tax, even though it's more of a it's accurate, but it's unless you know what you're talking about, it's not quite transparent.
it's
And he
it's
knew
a nice
exactly
thing I
what you're
like."
talking about, and he's like, "Yeah, this is a mess."
He does that. I was on the commuter bus thing. We were talking, and it was like another lady who was like, "We don't want the buses here." And he was like, "I'm on the transportation board in Henry County. Marta doesn't want to come here. They have no intentions of coming here." But he understands that the air needs to be cleaner because there's a lot of green natural spaces in the area. So he understands that process. But he has a what's that thing called? Calendly app. So he was like, "Yeah, go here and we'll chop it up for a few minutes." I'm like, "Chop it up for okay, we'll chop it up for a few
He
minutes."
speaks the vernacular. I like it. So
Yeah,
did he
right.
did he mention whether he thinks that the bill 398, which will allow Rivian and others to sell, will stand a chance, or is it
No,
just
when I
to
get it,
prove
I'll
to these
follow up
people
with
that?
you.
Sorry, say again. I was talking over you.
When I get it, I'll follow up with you.
Okay.
He seems to be around, or I'll just hit him up on Calendar. If I get those 15 minutes, I'll update you as I go.
Okay. Yeah,
I
because it'd
like
be
having
it'd be
his ear.
great to see this pass. Because like, I mean, I understand that Tesla's got their 5 stores they can do, but that's not enough. Like, it shouldn't be just Tesla. That's not fair to everybody, and it definitely wouldn't be any more fair to just remove it from Tesla. That would be the exact opposite of what we're trying to do. Everybody else should be able to have some presence if they didn't bother to hitch themselves to that horse. I understand Ford and GM and everybody else. You chose dealerships. You chose this life, but these guys didn't choose that. They chose this other method of business. So that's on them. That's on you.
The crazy thing is, I'm starting to see more Teslas in my semi-rural area. The closest Publix is 7 minutes away, but I'm starting to see more Teslas, and it's like they know it. It's like Peachtree City here. I'm in a red state, but there's so many more Teslas concentrated in Peachtree City because they're so environmentally minded. And where I'm at in this county, in McDonough, there's a lot more as you go further out. I'm seeing more Teslas, like a lot more. I had a conversation with one guy on the side of the street, and we had a conversation for a good 30 minutes.
Yeah.
He was willing to talk about Tesla, and we were just talking about it. He was like, I spotted a Y over here and this over here, and I don't need Rain-X because by the time I hit my acceleration, the water's gone. And I'm like, these weird things, So it's
Yeah.
To me, to start seeing a community develop here, it's a juxtapose of things to see. It's a weird thing to see coming when I'm seeing it live.
Yeah. All right. So then the next article you brought us was, I don't know how I skipped this one. I looked at it like 8 different times. Huh?
Some of these I expect you to remember.
Well, like I saw this one 8 different times, and somehow it didn't end up in the list. Either the list got out of sync halfway through the week, so either it deleted it on its own, or I just never put it in there. I don't know which. But Musk announces that Tesla is now working on a new manganese battery cell, which is kind of important when you consider that all the minerals right now are being hotly contested as far as like the supply is shrinking because we get a lot of nickel from Russia, Ukraine, and other places like that. We do get some from Canada, but we don't get enough, and it's going to take time to develop that pipeline to increase their production. And they're hesitant to put more investment into it, thinking that if everything comes back to normal, will we've invested all this for nothing? Because if the other people are cheaper, we're still going to keep with them. But what they don't realize is that once it's out there and available, Musk is going to buy it all up. So they just need to do it, bite the bullet. Yeah.
I like the fact that he's going into different battery materials quickly, efficiently. Like, on one hand, we'll be like, I hate to say this, but we need to output the things I hate so we can address our energy issues. At the same time, I'm gonna figure out how to do this better because, I need to do this right. But, like his tweet, extraordinary measures, extraordinary times. We need to use these other fuels, energy sources that I'm not proud of, but in the meantime, I'm gonna find something out.
Hey, so in your circles, you get any of these doctors and folks that we talked with, like the lady in charge of the Cadillac Lyric and a bunch of others. We need to get some of them on here.
Oh,
yeah, that would be nice.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I mean, we've had special guests before, but to get some of these guests would be phenomenal because we've talked to them, but we haven't had them on show.
Did you go over the GM article?
GM article?
The 50K markup?
We talked about that with Sergio at the beginning of the show.
Okay. So an additional part to that of I Choose Violence, I went on ahead and tweeted it. I tweeted it directly to the dealership and GM, and then I tagged 2-Bit Da Vinci just for...
Oh, Ricky's going to tear him up.
Yeah, I just chose violence, and I was like, 50K. I can deal with 5K. That's
no, it's too high. I can understand an extra $200.
50K though, like,
right?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So the other Omar points out that Tesla's GigaFest is on April 7th. It's going to be an invite-only event. It will feature tours of the 8 million square foot factory, free food, and 2 stages of live music. I'm gonna do the American thing and say, "Oh, that's greater than 3 half giraffes."
I'm upset that I didn't get an invite. I'm mad.
We'll measure everything with the.
I want to go, but I know someone that did get an invite.
Oh, okay, so the invites have gone out. I wonder how they chose. I was making fun of how we'll measure everything but metric, and so I said, "Oh, 3 half giraffes." So the other Omar didn't get an invite, and Raj didn't get an invite yet either. F5, refresh.
I'm glad you scrolled past that because that was funny.
That
I
was
want
funny.
Mary F.
Right.
The one above that. Yeah, that was funny. I was like, wow, that's
It works for mine. What's he talking about? No, I don't want to answer him. I want to see what the other person said to him because it works for mine. He said, "Lol."
yeah, that's
come on.
yeah. That one comment still has me laughing. Who do I have to do this and this to get invited?
And those of us who were promised an event invite as part of the referral program get in on this. That's probably who it went to. They probably ran out. It was exactly what I asked above. I was invited to the Model Y and Cybertruck unveil event, but did not go to either event. Well, they sent you the invite. Just because you didn't go doesn't mean they didn't send it. And yeah, it was probably last minute because that's how Tesla rolls, but they did what was promised. I'm driving 1,800 miles to be there. Sure would be disappointed not to obtain a ticket. Woo! Wow!
I mean, you got some people that are driving some crazy distances. There's people coming from Canada driving all
Without even having an invite yet.
I mean, right? I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not doing such a long trip without
Right.
Oh, that's sweet.
definitive.
Okay, so pause for a second. He flew with no tickets to a Pink concert for his daughter and thought that was very sweet. That's kind of awesome.
No, wait a minute.
Even if you didn't get the tickets.
Yeah, but that's a little more chance to get it right. He
Casey,
can scalp some at the door.
Is that really Elon's sister, or like who's Tesla and Doja? Who is that?
No, that is somebody put Elon's face into one of those apps that genderized him, and then his mom tweeted out, "Ilona, you're looking beautiful today," and so then people have been using the picture.
Oh, okay.
But that sounds like the kind of trolling that my own mother might do. Like, hey,
Right? What did they do? Oh, Ilona, and you'd be like, "This is where he gets it from." Like,
it's 70, what, 3 years old? She's a funny lady on Twitter. If you haven't read her book, I enjoyed the book. I've been saying that for a long time. You wake up to an OTA to your car's had for years, be able to drive you around to work. It's actually happened. FSD beta new markets. Autopilot improvement. Oh, is this Canada? 10.11.1. Oh, yeah, it is Canada.
Yes.
Breaking news!
that is ridiculous.
FSD beta has reached Canada. All right.
So it's 10.11.1. Let me see if my car got an update yet.
This is what I was trying to tell you earlier, Casey. There's update. There's an FSD update.
Is this?
This is the new update that they were saying there. It's like way better.
It better be, because they were like, he said that about the last one too, and then my car didn't get it.
They were raving about that.
Yeah.
This update just started rolling out like yesterday. They're already
Has the
raving
screen
about it.
always been like that detailed for the FSD beta?
It just says fully charged.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how it's always looked.
Oh.
Well,
Yes.
since they got rid of the laser dot view, I
Okay.
need
That's
to charge
impressive.
sooner than that for my appointment tomorrow. While I'm in
That's
here.
definitely neat. That's definitely neat. Because I was like, that's highly detailed for the actual camera to see everything it needs.
That's sparse, actually. It can see a lot more cars than that. So I wonder if I watch after we get done with the show. I'll get an update. You guys remember why I downgraded my car on stream? That was fun, and by fun I mean not. All right. So as FSD improves, it'll be available to customers in countries outside the U.S. These countries contain unique infrastructure, driving behaviors, and traffic patterns. I still don't understand. Like, I've talked to a bunch of Canadian friends trying to figure out what is so different other than the speed limits being in kilometers per hour and distances being written out in kilometers. I don't see, and the car already translates that. I don't see what. I'm sure there's something, but they couldn't think of anything either. So I would like more detail on that. That's all I'm saying. Therefore, it's essential that drivers using FSD beta in new areas are extra sensitive, or extra attentive, and overly cautious. You must be ready to take over safely at any time, which that's not really new. It just reinforces it, I suppose. Very excited to take delivery of this 22 Plaid. That's a beautiful car. Beautiful car.
Out of my price range, but
Oh yes, of course. I spelled beautiful wrong.
That last view from the center seat in the back
Yeah,
is absolutely gorgeous.
I think that's part of why they won't let you get the 7-seat right now, other than having a consistent config. That's got to be part of it. I was awake last night and didn't get the update for some reason. Yeah, I remember those days. Those days were terrible. It does come in waves, yes.
It does.
Yep, somebody's racing up the hill outside. You guys can't hear it because of the stunner. All right, so then Dan shared with us a Bloomberg Green article about a village that was brought online into the modern world with solar panels, and then they had a storm which ruined it.
Oh man.
Strange thing is, this is my first one. Nice Twitter one. I tweeted Elon about this because
Wait, so
there should be a reason not to do this.
they didn't have power before, then they had power with solar, but then a storm took it out, so now they're back to not having power again.
Right, and then their battery backup that they have, it looks similar, but it's not. Those are not Tesla power packs.
No.
They have failed, and the operator that put them in went out of business. So now they can't even get any support on their batteries. So even if they did restore the solar, there's no place to put the energy if they're not actively using it. And you don't really need as many lights during the daytime as you do.
That
at
makes
night.
them dark at night, and oh man.
Well, the panels are still broken too, so they're dark during the day as well.
Well, right, but I mean, even if they repair the solar, I'm
Right.
saying that they're still going to be dark at night, which
Yeah,
is when you need the most light.
right.
But
It's a shame they didn't have any insurance on that either. I mean, I know that the village might not have been able to afford it, but whoever put it in should have opted for some insurance.
yeah, but if
That's the tragic.
but if whoever put them in, if the company went out of business,
This is true.
they're not going to be.
Or if it was a donation. I understand if you do a donation, it's a little harder to set up. Like a
Well,
one-time
yeah.
donation, it's a lot harder to set up a subscription for some insurance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something I definitely wanted to see. Actually, this is something I actually, because that's what got me right there. They're actually trying
Using
to
the
do,
car battery.
like,
Yeah.
they're actually trying to do medical stuff in the dark,
With flashlights.
like yeah, right.
Right.
They're trying to become self-sufficient. They actually need a good usage for solar, battery backup, and maybe a dishy or two. Like it will sustain them for a good bit. This
Yeah.
is a
And
small.
there you can see one of the panels is ripped out by the wind. I'm going to put a
Mhm.
link to this article in the chat. So if you want to figure out how to get in touch with these folks, if you have a little something you can put towards getting them back online.
Yeah,
That's
that was a
unfortunate.
little bit.
That's very
That was a
unfortunate.
little bothersome to me.
So so now you've got, the other alternative is to try and do it with some gas or
Generator,
diesel, which is, as we see here in the States, that's terrible for the asthma and the development of the children.
Well,
And so here he salvaged one of the panels and using them on some batteries, but it's a lot easier if you can just flip a switch than if you have to carry the battery inside, then go do surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your refrigerator does
The
nothing if it can't turn
refrigerator.
on.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Yeah. These are some of the ones that really hit me. I was like,
they got to do old
this
school
is one of the
icebox
ones-
style, like try to
Right.
get a bunch of ice, put it in the fridge, and then keep that shut at night, so that way it keeps the stuff cold, and then try do it all over again the next day.
Yep.
Yeah, this is why I'm gonna have to retweet again for like SpaceX and Starlink to see if they can help, because that one's tragic. I was like, oh, whoever let them down the first time. Like, I was like, dude, I don't normally tweet it all. I was like, but you need to fix this if you can, like, please. I was like, get another third-party company to take their, because there are some dedicated solar companies. Just take their stuff down there. I'm sure they'll sell it. It's good publicity for them. Just take it down there and help them set up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Then you shared this article, which kind of dovetails nicely with that, because of what happened. So Elon says it's very hard to give away money effectively if you care more about the outcomes than the optics. So in that case, I'm not saying that that's what happened there, but you could say that is what it can become if you're not careful with how you do it.
I mean, it's true.
If you give it away for show, and then
And then not all the
company-
money goes to actually
either not able to goes to, yeah,
and
or they
then,
don't do it effectively. Yeah.
right.
This one, I'm sure it's just a matter of it was a really bad storm, and then at that point, the company's out of business. I don't know that it's necessarily exactly what Elon's talking about, but there have been other cases where,
No, I think what Elon's talking about is more so the initial, situation where, okay, I'm giving away a bunch of money and I'm going to give it to charity to whatever this cause is, but then the charity that you gave it to, only 10% goes to actually doing the thing that they're trying to do. And the
Right.
majority of the other rest of the money is going into pockets of people in advertisements, and basically they're spending most of the
Right.
money to ask for
because
more money.
it doesn't go to the outcome. It
Kinda
goes
like
to
the
showing that you asked for more money and gave it. Yeah.
kind of like the
But
Zuckerberg thing in New Jersey. He donated $1 million, and half of it went to figuring out how to spend it.
yeah,
Or
something like
anything
that.
like that.
Exactly.
Right.
So he says he's not concerned with getting recognition for donating money, and we've seen that in the past where sometimes it comes out years later that he actually donated to a cause. So other times, he says right there on Twitter, yes, it's done, but he's not out there grandstanding. It's just like literally they asked him on Twitter, he answers on Twitter,
Yeah.
and then it's
The
done.
crazy thing is, the 2 or 3 times I can rarely off the top of my head. Nobody tracks. I love to track the space stuff, but Inspiration 4, I forgot the dude's name. He got Shift 4 payments. Jarek Isaacman. When he did that, he
Oh,
was
this is
doing
that same
fundraising.
interview you shared earlier.
Oh yeah. See, that's why I probably connected it from.
Okay.
Jarek Isaacman, he wanted to do this for St. Jude's Hospital. So he assembled a team and they raised like $150 million. And at the last second, when they thought they weren't going to make it, Elon was just like, here. And it was, I'm a person, if you criticize the person, acknowledge both sides,
Yeah.
And
It's
so
only fair.
he did that. Yeah. And I was like, he did that. He's problematic. He take his phone all the time. But when he wills it, sometimes it's for good. And I need that to be acknowledged because the philanthropy is something we don't do. When Sanders and Warren called him out, he dropped all his money in taxes. So now you can't ask him. But now where did that money go? Like it just evaporated into the government system again.
Yeah.
So you don't know if it went towards defense spending or to the homelessness or something. When he did, and this goes back to the World Food Program. When they were like, hey, if the world's richest, and again, he's the eyes are on him. I wouldn't say
Right.
target as our friend Sergio said, but the eyes are on him because he's most popular. And he was like, and the beautiful thing he did was on Twitter was like, show me here in public how you plan to spend this, and I'll do it. I'll cash out my stocks, everything. And they were like, we're transparent. Your people meet our people. And everybody else checked him and was like, no. He said, put it here so we can see it. And then people start checking their books, which has to be released publicly. And they had $8 billion just sitting in their coffers. So
Right. They already had the money, and it wasn't working.
So they got humbled real quick, and all Elon had to do was like put it here. And the brilliance of what he's doing. Again, he's problematic. I will always hold him accountable for when he's doing the wrong things. However, when he's gotten called out, he usually answers. When he's gotten called out by Warren and Sanders, first of all, the joke was crass, but I get his humor. I forgot you're still alive. That's weird, but sick humor, but I get it. But then again, he did it. So now
he likes to clap back. Even though someone in his position should not be clapping back publicly.
Yeah,
it's one thing to say it at a party or a political fundraiser or whatever, but say it in public is a little bit rude.
But at the same time, you can no longer come. He's done it, so now you can no longer come after him. Now you have to go say the world's richest or wealthiest, except for Elon. Like you can eliminate his whole thing from the conversation. It's
he said, "Get your name out my mouth, or my name out your mouth."
Right. Unless it's needed. Like I'm the leader, not GM. I'm the leader in this. Okay. Like it's a balance with him. I just like people in that article. He actually had the foresight to be like, I don't care where it goes.
So then you shared this article with us, which I've just now read the headline. It seems cool. So Intelsat is rolling out a network that integrates Starlink and geostationary satellites. At the same time, though, I'm wondering, is it just in a place where Starlink is thin, or is it while you're mobile? Because geostationary satellites, they suck. They're not anywhere near as performant as what the finished version of Starlink gives you. So tell me
What's
more about
weird?
this.
What's weird is I'm looking at this, and it's a competitor using their competitor stuff to make themselves better.
Okay.
As we were talking earlier, it's one of those weird things. They're using this company, like, okay, internet satellite service has always been iffy at best. Well, this company has figured out, okay, if you can't beat them, sort of join them. And it looks like they're buying it wholesale and then giving it to their customers a fairly
Yeah,
little bit
yeah.
cheaper.
A lot
So
of
if
our
you can't
customers would
afford
like
it,
to and have been using
yeah,
Starlink.
yeah. So it
At
was
least
really like,
at least you can
okay,
see
maybe,
reality instead of trying to pretend it doesn't
yeah. So
exist.
they're like, okay, how about if we buy these from you, Starlink, and send it to these guys and we resell them with your service? So that what we seen before, that bulk purchase, the community, the business sale, where it was like
Yeah.
$500 and you get this. Well, if you're a business on a business account, you get that premium connectivity before all your other customers. And now you can, for a company like them, you can send that out to your customers. So you don't have the price of Starlink, but you get the Starlink service from this other company. It's
I do like
actually genius.
I do like here where they're
Go
saying
ahead.
that they have one gateway, so you're only having to plug in one cable at your site, even if you have two dishes.
Yeah, and they made it real simplified. It's a brilliant piece of except for the part they said they want to work with the military. And I'm like, I don't know how well this will work.
Starlink has already been working with the
And
military
see, that's my point. Military be like, why would I go through you if I can go straight to Starlink and pretty much get at a
because
solid deal?
they do the layering thing.
Well, maybe it's for
That's true.
redundancy.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
might be
the
for
military likes
redundancy.
to be they like redundancy.
Very true. Very, very true. But it
Especially
was a
when
weird.
we look at the next article you sent us, where the Space Force is using Spire data to detect satellite jamming. We saw Elon admit publicly that the Russians were trying or sorry, the Russian government was trying to jam Starlink in Ukraine.
Yeah, this one was, and the funny thing is, my Google notifications. I love it when it sources me the right stuff. I tell people search the right things. Google will give you the right things. These were back to back on my thing. It's really neat that we have a coalesce of the company starting to be like, this is the next generation of how we're delivering information, but we're getting hacked. Let's help each other out. Let's put our let's put
Yeah.
our capitalistic differences
Well,
aside and let's
Yeah,
figure
because
stuff
if you
with each
hack
other.
I
one
mean,
service, you still got the other one running.
anything that you
Yeah,
have, there's always going to be countermeasures too. So, like, if it's really interesting, but I mean, if it's in someone's interest for you to not have it, they are going to try to counteract it and do some type of countermeasure against you.
yeah. It to me, it's between these two. It was a really neat process of the the companies that are involved in this area. Instead of trying to look at, they see the four-legged competitor and they go, okay, let's do some business and let's make sure we all survive this process. So I think a lot of people learn from this deployment of Starlink live beta test in a combat zone to figure out a lot of stuff on the fly, include Elon putting Starship on pause, just so they can focus 100% on
Oh,
cybersecurity
they put
right
everything
away.
on pause.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like, we're
Launches,
not doing
everything.
nothing else. Yeah, we're
Yep.
not doing nothing else. We got to figure out the cybersecurity. Oh, they're going to target my dishes. Hold up, hold up. I just got them in the country. Fix this. It's that weird process. So to see this again, the next 100 years is going to be in the
I mean,
books. And
sometimes the best way is to
I'm
learn by
like,
doing,
yeah,
and they're
back in
doing it.
my day,
And they're
actually
learning
people
from
were
it while
doing
they're
it,
doing it.
right? And it was on screen. It was not this VR that you guys have today. You know. So yeah, it's fascinating to see in real time. Very fascinating.
So then you shared us this guy at GeekWire who appears to be complaining about Starlink. What was the deal here? I didn't read this one either.
Oh no, he he decided to take it everywhere in California that he goes to. his basic thing, that's a cool video too. His basic thing was it's going to take about 15 minutes max, no matter where you set up at. So he
Oh,
got it set up at a friend.
to get a link, assuming that they have a spot for you where you go.
Yep. So
Well, they didn't say it
originally
was
he set
mobile
up
yet. Mobile's coming.
exactly, and that's the funny thing about this. He had it set up at a friend's house. They had a plan for a Call of Duty game online. So he set up right before that. They were able to play at regular speeds to keep up with everything else. The first one was at either at his house or his parents' house on top of the shed. Then the second one was him at the friend's place. And then the third one was in the middle of a wildlife park where the Army Corps engineers are. And he was like, we got to connect, and then we left because we were getting looks. But each time he was like, about 15 minutes or less, he was connecting. So while, yeah, it's not supposed to be movable, he just tested it out to the rural areas of California. It was like, you can do this. Your speeds are going to different. He actually did the speed difference too. So he's like, your speeds will be sketchy, but if you're in the rural areas and say you're going from one house to another house 15 miles down the road, you can essentially take your internet with you, which was
And that's what it's
interesting to
built
see.
for, really. Is you've got all these places right now where it would cost you thousands of dollars to get an internet connection, or you had to put up with a really expensive geostationary satellite connection. The consumer ones are really slow. You've got high latency, slow speeds, and they're not really acceptable when you consider internet to be a basic human right for somebody who's not incarcerated. And it's to the point where your local government, a lot of the features you need, some of them are only online. Like, you can't even go down to the courthouse and be like, give me Form 12. They're like, oh, well, go online. Oh, you don't have online? Here's the library. But that's not the same thing.
The strange thing is, my cousin's farm. He inherited from his mother. It's so rural that he had to get the two older traditional internet companies from
Hughes and
satellite.
the other one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the other two, and he was trying to update his PlayStation 4 or 5, like, and it took him like 3 days. Like, the fastest time he had
Wow.
was at night. So
Super slow
we're
speeds.
laughing at it. Yeah, super slow speed. And so, like, the first time I saw Starlink, I was like, here, go buy it because you're going to need it. Especially if we have another, as I call them, the hold downs. If we're going to have another time, you're just going to need this because we can only text and call. And I have a Verizon, so I can only text and call people. So I was like, this is a great thing to actually have fun. I highly recommend Starlink. It's going to be expensive initially, but the payout is worth it. That article is actually very interesting because he did it real time. It was actually really cool.
Right,
So
and,
Indeed.
the first one
that's
saw
the whole point of
satellites.
it, is to get, actual quote unquote high speed internet in places where you can't, where you just don't have anything.
Well, it is high speed. It's just not not fiber.
And
It's really good.
right, but I'm saying, I'm saying high speed in quotes, but Starlink actually is, usable speed. It's
Yeah.
still high speed. It's and to
Unlike
have
the
that,
alternative.
and to have that in places where you have nothing. I mean, something always beats nothing.
Yeah, yeah. And if you can get it for a couple $100 instead of a couple tens of thousands of dollars, to some places they're like, you're the only customer, so they're like, yeah, you got to pay for the poles, the lines, the
Yes,
labor,
dropping new lines down.
materials.
Some companies won't even do it. Some companies won't do it unless they have at least.
Or you got to sign
5
up for
or 15
20-year contract.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that was a nice little experiment I saw. They were giving pictures of where that the one on the back of the SUV was funny to me.
Yeah.
Because that's when I actually got looks from the Army Corps engineers. They started looking at him. He was like, "Oh, I got service. Bye."
Indeed.
Yeah.
So I want to thank our channel members and all of you guys for watching and participating today. And that video I've been talking about with the OMU battery and filter is it's in the computer here. It's in this other computer, and it's functioning. And I like it, and it's not as easy to edit at the time. There were police looking to find the 3 shooters that were running through the neighborhood. The neighbor ran up and was asking questions, and so I'm gonna have to edit it because on top of all of that, like there's all the drag race videos, all the drag race people on the street that you never hear thanks to this filter on this microphone. Well, my portable microphone and portable cameras don't have that same filter, so I'm probably gonna chop the video and then just talk over it because half the time I'm talking, you hear it's not compelling watching, but the
Here's our
opticals are
$20
there.
that we just threw in the tank. Here's
Yeah, so
a quarter tank for $20.
right. So the opticals are there, and I do step through how to do the install. So I'll figure out a way to make that worth your time to watch, and you'll find that right here on the channel. And we'll catch you on the flip side.